Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to begin this evening's board meeting. The school board meeting of November 2nd, 2021 is now called to order. The time is 6:01 p.m. We would like to take this opportunity to remind the members of the public of the district mission, which is to ensure that each student achieves his or her highest personal potential and the district's vision to be a world-class school system. Prior to the start of this evening's meeting, we had the pleasure to enjoy from the Fort Myers High School Greenway Treble course under the direction of Trevor Tran. The accompanist for tonight's performance is Shannon Arnold. The pieces performed were Shine on Me, Hold Fast to Dreams, and Never One Thing. If you would like to hear more of the Greenway Choir, their annual holiday concert will take place on December 10th at 7 p.m. in the Fort Myers High School auditorium. Please join me again in giving our students' performance a round of applause. Thank you. This is what we're here for, right here in front of us, these kids, so thank you. At this time, we're going to take a brief pause so that they can clear the performance areas. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Girls, have a good night.
And thank you, parents, for bringing them. Okay. This evening's agenda includes invocation, presentation of colors and the Pledge of Allegiance, acknowledgements, special presentation to the board, public comments, consent items, which include 4 items under board office, 1 item under academic services, 4 items under business services, 3 items under human resources, 2 items under information specialist systems, 9 items under operations, and 1 item under public hearings, and 4 items under other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Ms. Vaughn?
I move to adopt the agenda.
Thank you. I may have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Fisher? Okay, it was moved by Ms. Vaughn and seconded by Ms. Fisher. Please record your vote. And Ms. Thomas, if you can help me, I can't see it on the screen. Has everybody voted?
No.
I can't pull it up.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Fisher will lead us in the invocation, after which Ms. Giovanelli will lead us in the presentation of colors and the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Fisher, please.
Yes, thank you. Please rise. This evening, we are blessed with Reverend Israel Suarez from the Nations Association. Nations Association Charities was founded in 1978 by Dr. Israel Suarez. Over the years, thousands have been able to benefit from his assistance and programs. Reverend Suarez and his family have mentored and reinforced positive lifestyles and values that will allow families and young people to take their place as productive members of our community. The youth in Fort Myers community have learned life skills, been taught personal responsibility and leadership. They have earned scholarships, volunteered in the community, and mentors those who came after them in the programs. Reverend Suarez is also a founder of the Community Prayer Breakfast, designed to bring Southwest Florida residents together. His vision for Nations is to provide programs that help transform at-risk youth in Southwest Florida into points of light. In fact, in 1990, the Nations Association was recognized with a Point of Light designation by President George H.W. Bush. Now, as Reverend Suarez celebrates 43 years of service to the community, he continues in that mission. Please welcome Reverend Suarez.
Thank you, Father God, for you, Father God, because without you, there's no way we can do it. We live in such a difficult time. But thank you that you always there to protect us and help us. And I ask you, Father God, that tonight you be present here with the issue that the board and the superintendent are going to present. We ask you, Father God, that when we walk out of this facility, we walk out of here thinking that the blessing from heaven going to be forever to this institution. I present this prayer in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you. Ms. Giovanelli, will you please lead us in the presentation of the colors?
Yes. Introducing the cadet who is presenting the national colors for our Pledge of Allegiance is Lieutenant Colonel Brent Dahl, Assistant Senior Army Instructor for the Dunbar High School JRTC program. Lieutenant Colonel Dahl served 26 years in the Army, assigned to numerous positions of increasing responsibility prior to his retirement. This is Lieutenant Colonel Dahl's first year as a JRTC instructor in the district. Thank you for your service. Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Presenting the national colors tonight is Cadet Spate Oliver, the Cadet Brigade Commander of the Dunbar High School JRTC program. Cadet Oliver is a member of the National Honor Society and is an honor roll student. He is actively involved in the JRTC marksmanship team and was the previous academic team commander. Cadet Oliver is planning on attending Norwich University after graduation and completing its officer program prior to his future military endeavors. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Reverend Suarez, thank you very much for being here. This evening, students representative from District Student Advisory Committee is Christian Whittish, a ninth grader at North Fort Myers High School. Christian is a member of student government, serving as class of 2025 president, a member of Youth in Government, and an ACE honor student. Christian has a GPA of 4.0 and currently, as a freshman, 23 hours of community service towards the Florida Bright Future Scholarship. Christian enjoys playing golf, tennis, writing, listening to music, and going out with his friends. You go out with your friends, good. Christian hopes one day to major in political science at FSU or UF, graduate from Yale Law School with a focus in corporate law, and serve as the governor of Florida, and eventually a U.S. representative or senator. Please welcome Christian Whittish. Thank you for being here. And you're next. Put the mic to you. There you go.
Good evening. Tonight, I will read the character word for November. The character word is patriotism. A quote from John F. Kennedy: "Ask not what your country can do for you, yet ask what you can do for your country." The design you see displayed on the screen was created by Jade Nelson, a 12th grade student at Mariner High School. Thank you.
Okay, and then also this one up here. He's not finished. We're working him today. We have all these right here too.
The School Board of Lee County acknowledges the following events for the month of November 2021. National STEM/STEAM Day, November 8th, 2021. National Education Support Professionals Day, November 17th, 2021. Holocaust Education Week, November 8th through 12th, 2021. School Psychology Awareness Week, November 8th through 12th, 2021. Gifted Education Week, November 11th through 14th, 2021. American Education Week, November 14th through 20th, 2021. And Florida Family Engagement and Education Month, November 1st through 30th, 2021. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christian. And Christian will be here throughout the evening. If it gets too late, we'll have him do his public comments, go to the order. So he will, from now on, we will be making sure we have a student advisory sitting with us, and hopefully we'll have entertainment here now. So they will be observing and then give their feedback at the end. But again, if it does get too late, then we'll take a break so that he'll have the opportunity to do his public comment, and then we'll continue on with the meeting. Thank you. Okay, special presentation to the board. At this time, please welcome the Estero Council of Community Leaders, ECCL. Please use the podium on the right to present your special presentation. And if you would please state your name. I have multiple names on here, so.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mark Nowitzki. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the Estero Council of Community Leaders. And we're here tonight. Actually, the ECCL is a nonprofit, nonpartisan, non-political, volunteer civic advocacy organization. Been a tough day, sorry. With me, I have Alan Bowditch, our CCO, Chief Communication Officer, and Amy Kuchebecker, she's our education co-chair. And each one is going to have a few minutes tonight to speak to you. Tonight we're here to present to school boards, superintendent, and staff a copy of our book, The History of the ECCL, titled Forging a Better Path. Okay, we passed out copies earlier. The board gets hard copies, the rest get hard, soft copies. Sorry about that. What we have to do. Basically, the book identifies what we've accomplished and where we're going, what we've accomplished over the last 20 years and where we think we're going. You know, we all know you're in the education business, but we're here to help. We're here to support the village. We're here to support the school district. You may notice that I didn't say the village of Estero. It's the greater Estero area. And that's important to us because we look throughout Southwest Florida. We live and work and volunteer in all parts of Lee County. My wife and I have taught junior achievement at Bonita Middle and Bonita Charter. I've taught personal finance and career development at Dunbar, East Lee, and Estero High School. And a little bit later on, Amy's going to talk about the 80 ambassadors, as we call them, that go into the 4 or 5 Estero area schools to help with financial literacy and other things. The toughest class I taught was economics, and I don't know what you all thought of economics when you're going through college, but economics was not my favorite subject. But anyway. We also do other things. This past year at Estero High School, we partnered with the Chamber of Commerce and the Estero Historical Society and had $3,000 scholarships to Estero High School students. They didn't have to live in Estero, they just needed to attend the school. This year, we're also lined up to do that again. Thursday night, I had a conversation with Principal Mike Amabile, yeah, I always say that wrong, and he corrects me. I apologize for that. And we're going to do it again this year. And it's great to get the kids, and to me, students, seniors, you know, understanding the business, the history, and the governance of the Estero area. We've also got, we're working with Three Oaks Middle and the Athenian Academy on 4th and 7th grade essay contests on the history of Estero. We hope to kick it off for the fall, but you know, we couldn't get into schools at that time. You all understand that. So we're probably going to do it next fall. So we do the 4th and 7th in the fall and the high school scholarships in the spring. We also are involved heavily in the community and the school district. We have at least 3 community members on the school board advisory councils. I sit on the financial advisory board, a $2 billion budget. I'm a financial analyst by trade and actually a forensic accountant, depending. The financial advisory and budget people are a little tired of me right now after only 2 meetings. But somebody told me that they'll love me once they get to know me. We also have somebody on the Independent Sales Tax Oversight Committee and the Continuous System Improvement. We are involved in the community, we are involved in the school district. Our J8 program, where we had the 80 ambassadors, reached every 2nd, 5th, 8th, and 11th grader in the 4 Estero area schools in 19. 20 was a bad year, let's just not even talk about that. Okay, Amy will talk a little bit more about that. We've even offered through Gwen Gittens to export our model to East Lee, the East Lee Cooperative. We've had discussions on that. I actually spoke on one of their meetings. So again, we need the volunteers to make that happen. And at this point in time, I'd like to turn it over to Alan and let him talk about the book for a few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, and a very warm good evening, members of the board and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alan Bowditch. I'm the Chief Communications Officer at the ECCL. The book you've received actually took about 9 months to produce. There were over 28 interviews that were carried out with such people as members of the Lee County Commissioners, past members of the ECCL, members who have served on the planning and zoning boards, consultants to our community in the environmental area, and so forth. So that 30 hours of interviews had to be transcribed, which amounted to about 200 hours of work. And in addition to that, of course, there were a great many items in archives, both in the Estero Historical Society, press releases from the past, which all had to be accumulated and put together. I'm extremely grateful to Jim Shields, who has worked within the ECCL since 2004, who had the vision for this particular book. He felt that it was extremely important to identify and recognize the many unsung heroes that have worked diligently over the last 20 years to help make the greater Estero area what it is today. And I hope as you read the book, you will come to realize the various inputs that these individuals who did it on a voluntary basis made over this very long period of time. So it was felt that the need was to acknowledge these individuals, their work, and the support that wasn't just entirely, of course, on their own. This was a joint effort over that long period of time, working with county commissioners, other environmental organizations, as well as skilled experts in the various fields. So it was very much a collaborative endeavor over that time. And I think the term of the book, the title, Forging a Better Path, is the way that the current executive management team at the ECCL feels that it's the best way forward. Dialogue as opposed to any aspect of confrontation. Two important things that I'd just like to mention about the book. It explains not only what happened in the past, as Mark has mentioned, but what the ECCL's focus will be in the years ahead as we try to represent the views of residents in the Southwest Florida area on many aspects like safety, education, economic development, culture, and recreation and health. And the second point is that our organization, which Mark has already mentioned, isn't focused only on Estero, but Southwest Florida. We have provided help and guidance not only on educational issues, but water quality, economic development outside the greater Estero area. And we hope that where issues that affect all of us in Southwest Florida arise in the future, we can provide input that might assist in the decision-making taken at a county level. Finally, I'd just like to comment on some of the unsolicited comments that have been made about the book that you now have in front of you. Laura Cummings Gates, the editor of Estero Life magazine, said, "What a great idea to record this local history." Brian Bartolek, General Manager and Chief Operating Officer at Shadowwood Country Club, said, "The book is an incredible idea, and I'm amazed at the amount of time and effort that went into interviewing people and the research and development involved. Congratulations on being part of something that will make a difference for many years to come." And maybe just finally, a comment from Nolan Rollins, who, as some of you may know, was the former director and chairman of the Estero Chamber of Commerce. He said the recent publication, Forging a Better Path, has educated all of us on the past accomplishments and the ECCL's activities, and keeps us posted on the important things of what comes next. So thank you for listening to me, and I wish you well.
Thank you.
Hello, I better lower this. My name's Amy Kuchenbecker. I'm an Estero resident, but I am the chief operating record keeper for our, we call it our ECCL 258 graduate program, and we've partnered with, there was an actual agreement between you all on the school board, the Village of Estero, and Junior Achievement of Southwest Florida. And for those of you not familiar with what Junior Achievement is, we are going in and we've picked in our 4 and 5 Estero area schools, we picked some programs because we couldn't teach them all in grades 2, 5, 8, 11, and we were piloting, just starting to pilot a financial literacy course for seniors in high school before the parents let them go on campus and say, wow, I've got all this money and I can get a free t-shirt and I can get a credit card, and to understand some of those ramifications of signing legal agreements. So I'm not going to focus too much on what I do, more what we do. In the ECCL, you're going to hear the name Jim Shields again. Jim went to Nick Bedos one day and said, you know, we got to do something to help the schools out in the area because they're great schools. And Jim's the one that brought Junior Achievement into it, and some of you know the rest of it. And so then it was up to Jim to go out in the community, and he knows Estero because that's where he lives, and to recruit all these volunteers to teach in all these classrooms. Now, grade 2 doesn't sound like a lot, but when you say we have Pine Woods Elementary and Three Oaks Elementary in our area, and each may have, 8, 9 classes in each, and we have a team teaching approach. Somebody's the leader, and then we have them just bring a helper. And my motto is just show up, you don't have to do anything, just pass out papers. It gets people hooked and to understand what this financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and, and picking your careers really is. And the most interesting thing to me is going into a second grade class. I mean, second graders are babies. And we hand them each their play money, and we say, okay, you're the storekeeper. Your building burned down. Who do you call? Well, they say the fireman, but there's no money going to the fire department. How do we get money to them? So in that aspect, we teach them about taxes, and they honestly leave after that lesson understanding. And we know, because when it comes time, we wear signs that say, tax man. When the tax man cometh, they're hiding their little play money bills under their desk. And so they don't like paying taxes anyway. So what we did was we went in and we held meetings at the library, or we went into some of our communities, invited people to different locations and just told them about our program. Half the people left and said, oh, I'm too scared, I don't want to do that. We still put them on the list, we kept after them, and most of those, and 80 was an underestimation. We had over 120 people go into these classrooms, and a lot of those people that were afraid to go in or apprehensive or didn't want to commit the time, we ended up getting them in there as helpers, and they're teaching now. Now, COVID obviously threw a cog in our wheels. We had 2 years under our belt, just sneaked through the middle school and the elementary schools before COVID shut everything down. So we had 2 full years with these, over 100 people teaching in these schools. And they were so disappointed when we weren't teaching anymore. Well, can I teach virtually? And the junior achievement curriculum was not set up to teach virtual. I head up the Three Oaks Middle School group, and I tried to teach virtually, and the connection is not there with the students. So, with that being said, do you all have any questions for me? Anybody?
I'll just say thank you all for what you do, and thank you for the partnership we're forging with the East Zone as well.
We love this program. I mean, we just love it. And we're going back into the classroom tomorrow at the middle school. We weren't able to scramble quick enough to get, because we just got the go-ahead from junior achievement and the school board to go back in the classroom. But at the middle school, we have a very cooperative teacher there, Ms. Jen McLeod. And she's a joy to work with, and she welcomes us to her classroom. And so we're starting in again tomorrow, and we're excited, so thank you. And we are taking care of the children. They're not getting this in their curriculums, so we're happy to teach it to them. So thank you.
No,
Chair, it's 15 minutes.
yeah, I was just going to say that.
I'd say one last thing. We found that the ambassadors like certain grades. I don't like second and fifth. The lowest I'll go is 8th grade, and I really like 11th grade. I've taught 12th as that, but it's funny how the ambassadors, teachers, which we gravitate to, and it's just been a lot of fun. So thanks for your time. Thanks for allowing us to be here. And if you got any questions on the book or need anything else, a couple of you know how to get a hold of me. Thanks.
We really appreciate you being here. Next, the next on our agenda, I'm going to please welcome the Lee County NAACP. If you will come up and use the lectern over here, and I have Ms. Jacqueline McMiller and Mr. Love. Ms. McMillan, you can go right here and do your presentation. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Will Mr. Love be joining, or you'll?
No, he will
doing
not.
this? Okay, thank you.
He's over at the Board of County Commissioners, so we had
Thank
to split up the fight here. Thank you, Lee County Board of Education, and good evening, Honorable Chairwoman and the Honorable School Board leaders. My name is Jacqueline McMillan, and I'm the co-chair of the NAACP Redistricting Committee, executive board member of the NAACP, former student of the Lee County school system, and most importantly, I'm a mother, grandmother of children within the current school system. While raising my kids as a single parent, my focus was on raising my children, keeping them safe, and making a better life for us. I didn't realize at that time the significance of redistricting and ensuring that the lines are drawn fairly, impartially, and equitably. And that's the reason why I'm here. How can this be accomplished through the school board at this time, some may ask? By admitting that the purpose and duties of the school board is vastly different than those of the Board of County Commissioners. The voting district and the voting systems are different. This is a single-member district, and the Board of County Commissioners is an at-large district. So that voting system is completely different. So therefore, we at the NAACP and as parents, we urge the board of this board of the Lee County School System to not adopt the same maps as the Board of County Commissioners, and instead draw your own. The school board and the County Board of Commissioners use two different types of election methods, and again, that's single-member district and at-large. This alters how voters select their preferred candidates of choice and how members interact with voters. The County Board of Commissioners has repeatedly stated and said that their focus on their maps is not on individual districts. However, they're looking at their constituents and the needs of their constituents, representing the county as a whole. On October the 19th, Commissioner Pendergrass stated, "We serve everyone, and everyone gets treated equally." The school board's 5 single-member districts cannot follow this path. These members must listen, serve, and advocate for the individual needs of the children and the parents that live within their districts. The Board of County Commissioners' focus is not on the school to prison pipeline. The students with disabilities, the LGBTQ+ and gender nonconforming students, and students of color, who we all know are particularly vulnerable to the school to prison pipeline. You are serving that purpose. In 2019, at Varsity Lakes Middle School, they suspended over 200 students. The majority of those students were students of color. Students within this district are more likely to receive a certificate of completion after 12 years rather than a high school diploma than anywhere else within this county. More students of color who do not attend college are denied opportunities to learn a trade in other comprehensive schools, in high schools. It is your responsibility to juggle the understaffing of school counselors, where in the most recent data, it indicates that we have schools with no counselors, social workers, and psychologists. Your focus is addressing the fact that there is an absence of equity, adequate support for students to have safe learning environments, services to address unmet needs of trauma, which is often the causal reason for bad behavior, and we know this. And addressing the fact that there should be clear roles for our police. Behavior management is left to law enforcement, to the police, leading students to be arrested for school fights. I remember they were done in high school, but we did not get arrested for it. Class disruptions and other behaviors, when studies have shown that a single arrest will increase the likelihood of further arrests and dropouts. Parents depend on you to focus on student support. Student to staff ratio for student counselors in 2017 and 18 indicates it was for school counselors, it was 598 students to 1. And we're looking at facts here. 598 students to 1, when the industry standard is 250 to 1. The student ratio for school psychologists in Lee County is 3,631 to 1, when the industry recommendation is between 500 and 700. And the student to social worker ratio is 2,009 to 1, when the industry recommendation is 250 to 1. Lehigh and Fort Myers has the lowest graduation rate for high school and college. This has been brought to the forefront during the pandemic, where it has been documented that there are specific areas within the school district where there is major food insecurities when compared to other districts within Lee County. During the pandemic, when there was an in-home learning, a higher rate of minority students fell behind than whites. And let me just reiterate and remind you that child hunger does not discriminate. Trauma does not discriminate. Mental health does not discriminate. Unemployment does not discriminate. However, we do recognize that there's areas within this county that has a higher rate of need and deal with this on a day-to-day basis than other areas within Lee County. That's what we're here for. That's what the Lee County School Board needs to identify and recognize. The Board of County Commissioners represents the county as a whole, or at large. This magnificent board must represent the uniqueness of each and every individual district, because you are a single-member district. The Lee County NAACP map submitted on October 15th was specifically for the commissioners and not for the school board. And let me repeat that. That map that we submitted was specifically for the Board of County Commissioners, not this entity. If the board, the school board, adopts the same redistricting plan as the county, as the Board of County Commissioners, it will ignore the unique needs and challenges facing our children and their parents in this Lee County school system. Children of color and their corresponding communities of interest would continue to be split between districts 2, 4, and 5. Academic and disciplinary outcomes are far worse for Black and brown students in Lee County than for their white counterparts. And in fact, the commissioners do not even consider that, because it's not their job. It is yours. And we know by your history, you recognize that. The school board has an opportunity to draw their districts centering on racial equity and ensuring that youth in the Lee County are treated fairly and given the opportunities they deserve to succeed in the school system. How can there be equity when specific needs are not being met? The school board can change course, center racial equity, and do better than the Board of County Commissioners. Be the change that we need. There's still time for the board to create an inclusive, transparent, and participatory progress and process to draw maps that will prioritize our children's future and not for political gain. Lee County has a well-documented history of voters of color being unable to elect their candidates of choice in the school board. It was not until 2018 that our member Giddens was elected in District 5, and that was after the Lee County NAACP's advocacy and involvement for single-member district. The board needs to continue this process. It is the floor, not the ceiling, and one representative should not and cannot speak for the entire Black and brown community. Families of color need to be able to hold the school district accountable and have their voices heard, and know that the schools are improving to ensure that our youth in Lee County are treated fairly and given the opportunities that they deserve to succeed in school. In Lehigh Acres and Fort Myers, 64% of the population is minorities, primarily Hispanics and Blacks. And those are the two largest groups. And according to the Voting Rights Act, when that is the case, boundaries must be drawn. The 1965 Voting Rights Act indicates that when that this is the situation, those boundaries must be drawn in real time that represents that coalition of a minority majority district. So, What does this indicate? We the people, the parents, myself, most importantly, the students, they need fair and equitable representation. On behalf of the NAACP, concerned parents, and citizens, we ask that the school board reject the Board of County Commissioners' maps and draw your own to address the specific needs of the children that we as citizens place in your care. They're in your hands. We ask that we are provided the opportunity, that the community and the public are provided an opportunity to have input on the development of those maps. We ask for full transparency. This school board has represented Lee County very well. You've done a great job with what you've had to work with. But we all know we have a long, long way to go. There's much improvement that must be made. We're proud of the work that you've done thus far, and by using these antiquated maps that you pull from the Board of County Commissioners. You have an authority, and we're looking as parents that you use that authority, that you utilize it, and you work with the parents and the students. And it's wonderful to see this student representative here because he has a voice, and he wants to be heard. I pose to you, just imagine if you drew your own maps and you focus on the needs of those students by drawing your own maps, because these are individual needs in different districts. Imagine the strides that you can make for the children and the families by identifying that, identifying your own separate entity, taking the bull by the horns, and doing what must be done to be fair and equitable. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I yield the remainder of my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. McMiller. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
When we have these presentations, is it a question and answering?
Well, I think the time is...
Because it's 15 minutes.
Actually, I just would ask for what she read, if she could email it to us, through the chair.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I want.
Ms. McMiller, would you please email that to the board, what you read? Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Bruno, please address the item.
Thank you. School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. If you completed a public comment card, please put it in the basket provided in the back of the room. If you need a public comment card, they are provided by our staff located in the hallway outside of the boardroom. The rules concerning public comment are posted and will be made from the microphone in the back. Please be advised that the board will not respond during public comment to remarks made by speakers. Speakers and those attending the meeting are expected to act in a respectful manner. The purpose of public comment is to provide feedback on school district issues. Personal attacks on individuals or abusive language are prohibited. In addition, clapping, hissing, and booing, unreasonably loud and/or offensive language, swearing, cursing, or display of temper are prohibited. Speakers who fail to follow proper decorum in the chambers will be ruled out of order. Any speaker continuing with such remarks will be required to relinquish the microphone per Board Policy 1.11 and may be removed from the chambers. There will be one warning, and we ask that you govern yourself accordingly. We will take recesses as necessary if there is not decorum in the chambers. Please remember that it is unlawful and a second-degree misdemeanor to knowingly disrupt or interfere with a school board meeting. Per Board Policy 1.11, the time per speaker is 3 minutes if there are 20 speakers, 2 minutes if there are 30, and 1 minute if there are 31 speakers or more. The maximum time allotted for public comment is 1 hour, 60 speakers. You will find a countdown on the big screens in the front of the room. Once your time has elapsed, the microphone will automatically shut off. We encourage you to address the board as a whole versus individual board members as they act as a collective board. Please state your name, I will call you 5 speakers at a time, and please follow the staff's direction when lining up. Madam Chair, we have 21 speakers today. That will be 2 minutes per speaker.
Okay, thank you. Please make sure you have completed a public comment card if you intend to provide public comment. The card is a public record, identifying those who speak and providing contact information to staff for follow-up. The cards are located with staff in the hallway or in here. I'm not sure where they're at right now, but we have them. In addition, if there is not decorum during this meeting, I will call for a 5-minute recess. We will continue to recess this meeting as needed, increasing 5 minutes each time. Members of the dais will, when a recess is called, I ask that you leave the chambers. Of course, it goes without saying that during the recess, board members will not discuss any matters that is pending on the agenda or will come before this body to avoid any sunshine violations. I will reiterate what Ms. Dupree Bruno just said, in that it is unlawful and second-degree misdemeanor to knowingly disrupt or interfere with the school board meeting. We would appreciate it if you would state your name prior to making your comment. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the board but has not filled out a comments card? Please raise your hand. Seeing none, Ms. Dupree Bruno, would you please?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, we have 19 speakers because 2 of them were our presenters today, so it's actually 3 minutes per speaker. Will the following individuals please line up? Kathy Horn, Rose McBride, Keith Olsen, Edward Drass, and Don Armstrong.
Everybody ready? Sorry. Hi, my name's Kathy Horn. I'm from Estero. I'm here tonight partly to, I want to thank the board for always politely listening to what everyone has to say up here and for creating a space that is safe to do so. And I'd like to thank the men and women around the room who are also here to help keep us safe. I appreciate everybody's efforts. I'm particularly here tonight to say that I really appreciate the efforts of the board and the community to reach out to people and to do what's best for children. And in particular to thank my board member from District 3 for all her hard work, often unrecognized or unknown by the general public, the many nights that she has spent away from family, the many hours and hours she spends talking with people in the community, particularly I'm impressed with her efforts on behalf of the half-penny sales tax, which allowed Lee County to be one of the primary school districts in the country because they had the funds to do computer work and more at-home learning than many other places. And I'd like to say that I'm proud that she has done this in spite of often vicious campaigns against her integrity, unfounded often in truth, and pushed by people with their own agendas and hidden issues. And I want to say that I support my board member and I support all the board members. And I want to go back to what was said earlier tonight, ask not what you can do for your country. People that come up here and speak, I'd like to ask them, ask not what you can do for your school board or for your Lee County School District. Ask not what they can do for you, ask what you can do for them, because they do a lot of work on behalf of nearly 100,000 students, and every bit of help they can have to pull together and do that is a good thing. Thank you.
And just a reminder, speakers, to please stay on the other side of the stanchions.
Good evening, school board members. My name is Rose McBride. I just wanted to express my appreciation and admiration of you folks, because from where I'm standing, more often than not, it seems like a thankless job that you all do. I'm glad you're willing to do it. beginning with having to mount a full court press political campaign to get your positions, and then getting such a measly salary for them, and serving as much of the vocal community's whipping boy, if you will, in order to allow them to vent their anger and frustration about a myriad of things. I admire you all for what you do, and I appreciate that you do it. And you all, I know, do your jobs to the best of your ability. You all perform as well as you can, and you do it for very little recompense and much public scorn and criticism. I think that you are to be held up as an example of people who are public servants and doing the best job they can under the circumstances. So thank you all very much. Hang in there, and hopefully the tides will turn and more of the community will come to appreciate what you all do. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Keith Olsen. I wanted to be home tonight watching the election returns. However, after I read the drafted policy 1.111, I realized that I needed to be here to try to defend our dwindling rights to speak and express ourselves during school board meetings. Your previous policies, I thought, were a bit stringent, were a bit tight, were a bit controlling, over-controlling. The ones that are presented in 1.111 are in parts, frankly, egregious to the concept of freedom of speech and freedom of expression. You start out under the policy saying the school board welcomes the public to share thoughts. I must say that your welcome is becoming more and more disingenuous. I'll start with point 9I. We are told that the school board must be addressed through the chair. So I'm addressing the whole school board through the chair. Second point is that hand gestures to signify approval or disapproval are prohibited. You've already said we cannot clap. We cannot even emit a small groan. We have no vocal expression according to your rules at all. And now we can't even wave? That is absolutely ridiculous and completely inappropriate. You also state that clapping creates an imminent threat to disruption. We just had clapping. We were clapping to approve. I don't think anything happened in terms of disruption. And so, again, you are being extremely tight and rigid. You also said that I'll repeat it, may not distribute flyers or other documents while on district property. One of your presenters broke that rule. I was talking with the folks from ECCL before the meeting, and one of them had the audacity to give me his card. According to this policy, if you pass it, that will be against your regulations. Please reconsider. You also stated that a limit to the previous stated concern is, or limiting to only one stated concern signed on the card would be allowed. That way you eliminate any spontaneous or comment that might come out of the interaction between you and the public.
Thank you, sir. Will the following speakers please line up? Crystal Johnson, Denise Nystrom, Ken Robinson.
Dr. Edward Drass. I think I should have coordinated with the previous speaker. We are of the same mindset. My question also involves Board Policy 1.111. I'm asking, what are the purposes for all of these restrictive measures? Do we see a lot of terrorism in the audience tonight? Why continue to keep people standing outside until 10 minutes before the meeting? You have a lot of older people in attendance. The heat, the humidity can affect them. Is this in their best interest? And why all the law enforcement people? One person commented that some meetings have more law enforcement than actual spectators. Do we really need that? And does the district need the expense to pay these men and women overtime for this service that they're providing? This presence is a chilling and overpowering effect on public speech, as is the other measures that you've put into effect with Board Policy 1.111. I still believe this should be an open forum for public speech. If there are grievances, they need to be aired. Sometimes they need to be aired with a harsh or angry tone. That's not threatening to the board, at least it shouldn't be. I mean, you are all adults. You've all been in interactions with people before. Sometimes an angry person does this to try to get their point across when especially they feel they're not being heard by the school board that represents all the 95,000 students in this district. So take that into account when you act on this new harsh, restrictive board policy to limit public comment. There are many other issues that this board needs to address which are pertinent to the operation of the district, including funding for new schools, monitoring the budget, fiscal responsibility, audits to make sure that all of the financing that occurs for construction in this district is done appropriately and with all full public knowledge and disclosure. There are also board members that are under scrutiny, and that needs to continue. The governor still hasn't made a decision on the board's recommendation that was made at the last meeting to sanction one of the members, which I can't mention because policy 1.111 won't allow me, but that issue still remains front and center with the public and will continue to do so till a decision is made.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Don Armstrong, proud parent of 2 juniors that go to North Fort Myers High School. Let's talk about free speech. 2018, Losman versus City of Riverview Beach, Florida. Losman sued and won for openly criticizing his public officials and calling them out by name. This went all the way to the Supreme Court. Justice Kennedy wrote, "The right to complain and criticize our government officials without fear and retaliation is one of the most precious liberties safeguarded by our Bill of Rights." When you sit there and try to stop people from calling individuals out, that's how we vote for you, by name. Not only that, my kids go to these meetings once in a while with me, and when they approach one of you, I expect them to call you by name. Mrs., Miss. They know if they didn't, they'd be in trouble. But you're telling them to call them by District 1, District 2? How about this? Let's remind this board that when you're telling the individuals you cannot call you out by name, why not? We vote for you, by name. You talk to us by name. Well, let's just go back to common sense, which I don't think is around here that much anymore. Common sense? The public owns this building. You work for us. We don't work for you. We can call you by name. We can suggest you do things, and we'll try to work with you. But you guys, when I listened to the briefing meeting this afternoon, I would have thought maybe you guys would have had a V8 moment going on right there. And you guys mentioned the public comments have been a little out of hand lately. How about the fact, if you notice, the more you make stringent policies on the public, the more the public seems to be upset with you. You realize that this is the public building. It's called public education. Stop making so many stringent policies. Open it up, have a free speech with the public, and I guarantee you, once you do that, you'll realize the public will actually work with you a lot more than what they are right now. Because right now, the only thing that we're going to call you by name is make sure we call you by name when we retire you.
Good evening. I am Crystal Johnson, community advocate and concerned parent. I am here tonight to support our school bus drivers, students, and parents. I was told by drivers that they do not feel like district employees. They aren't respected nor appreciated. A driver's health and safety should be held in the highest regard, since they are whom we trust to transport our children to and from school safely. I read an article over the weekend on social media where in Seattle, they have suspended 142 bus routes due to a driver shortage. As a parent, this was very alarming to me, leaving me wondering if this is our fate here in Lee County, if our drivers' needs aren't met. We can't afford to lose our drivers. Treat them better. Thank you.
Will the following individuals please line up? Allie Locke, Christy DiVigelli, Caitlin K., Robert Roper, Jan M.
Let's talk facts here tonight. The building of the new K-8 school in Estero needs to be stopped. A student population growth study needs to be presented because a lot of residents believe that that building needs to occur in East Lee and Lehigh. You see a video dated March 4th, 2020. The superintendent now, who was then the chief of operations, stated that the student growth rate was in Estero, not in East Lee. Why did the Estero plans continue then? Because as District 3 board member stated earlier today on a video, she gave 5 speeches a day to get that half-penny sales tax passed. How's it gone down so far? Well, there was a 70-acre parcel of land on Three Oaks Parkway in Estero purchased in 2003 that in 2020 was deemed unbuildable. So the district purchased an additional 10 acres of land next to the Estero High School and had planners and surveyors come out and look at that land. To date, approximately $20 million has been spent so far, while board member, District 5, has asked numerous times for proof of population growth, I'm sorry, District 6, I think I did that before, for population growth and has not been given the information. East Lee students are 50% Black and 25% Hispanic. Estero is predominantly white. We consider this a racial issue. So together with the president of the U.S. Florida Chamber of Commerce, Mario Juarez, we sent a letter to the Office of Civil Rights, and we are requesting an investigation into School Board Member District 3. Mr. Superintendent, you were not the superintendent then. This is not falling on you. I am urging you, however, to do what is necessary to protect yourself, but to bring transparency to the district. The facts are the facts, and the evidence abounds. On a side note, from time to time, we have seen contractors awarded bids and then they're pulled from the agenda. And then they reappear 6 months later, and another contractor with the same qualifications and sometimes at a higher cost is awarded the contract. Why? Procurement can be a huge issue when it comes to fraud and misappropriation of funds. I would just like to know that the checks and balances are in order in this district, and I'll be looking into that too.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Lee County School Board. My name is Ken Robinson. I'm the owner of Country Cooling and Heating. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I know you all have one of the toughest jobs protecting and educating our youth, which is one of the most important things we can do as adults and parents, in my opinion. I was born and raised in Lee County, as well as my parents and grandparents. We all attended Lee County Public Schools. I graduated from Riverdale High School in 1994 and currently have a son that's there now. I love this town and community, forever will. I'm here tonight not to fight or argue with any of the decisions made by the district, but voice my opinion on the current rejection notice that I received on October 21st for ITN number 217404JA, after I received an intent to award on September 15th. I feel that it puts my company, staff, and families in an extremely unfair advantage now that the pricing has been publicly posted online for everyone to see. We have been doing business with the school district for 10 plus years, and I've never experienced this issue in the past. And I hope me standing up here tonight doesn't leave a bad image or taste in anyone's mind or mouth. We love working with the school district staff and look forward to being able to continue to do so. Feel free to contact me with any questions or concerns about this issue. Thank you very much for your time.
Hi, I'm Caitlin, and I go to North Fort Myers High School. I'm a sophomore. I have come here to say, to address the needs of not only me, but also my peers, and every student of the Lee County School District. I believe that every student deserves a quality education, and part of that is providing healthy lunches that are, at the very least, complies with the USDA My Healthy Plate requirements. Lee County School District has been failing in this area. The meals that I have received this school year, I would not feed my dog, and to be honest, he would not even eat them. Some of the meals that we have received at lunch include bags of molded fruit, steak that looks like chicken soup. There has been beef that looks and smelled like cat food as well. I could continue, but I only have 2 minutes. All the choice is gone. The only choice we are given is what line we can choose to go into for lunch. Most days we don't eat, but every day we are left hungry after lunch, and I doubt it's just us high schoolers. I remember when I was in middle school and we had fresh fruits and vegetables every day, and the lunch ladies made us great food. I asked my mom, where did the food go? And she told me to ask you. She said it was partially your fault. Is that true? And most importantly, what are you going to do for me and every other student in the Lee County School District? We need to make sure that we receive quality food and are able to have a great education. As a sophomore in high school, I should be able to focus more importantly on my academics, but right now I'm fighting for us to be able to be fed proper nutrients. And I just hope that you all help fix this, because it's really not right. Thank you.
Christine DiVigili. I'd like to start by asking someone to please put time clocks back in transportation. There's no reason why they shouldn't have those. Next, I'm going to go to J1. I'd like to know what's being done with the items on the attached list. I already sent an email to the attorney, and I did CC the superintendent. So the fact that it got CC'd again to the superintendent and I still didn't get a response It's kind of annoying. But this is the second several $100,000 list of write-offs in the last 2 months. Is the district destroying these items? Are they being donated? Are they being thrown away? If the district is destroying these items, I'd like to know, can I take a look at them before they're destroyed so I can actually see, is there video that they're actually being destroyed? There's hundreds of thousands of dollars of outdated software, smart boards, Rosetta Stone. I don't know how Rosetta Stone is outdated, but that was like a $3,000 line item on that. Speaking of line items, J3, this is not an itemized budget. For example, Object Code 55-1000 supplies, over $51 million budgeted for supplies, $3 million spent so far this year. Where was that spent? $22 million spent or budgeted for food, $6 million spent so far this year. Find that hard to believe considering what my daughter just said about her school lunch. I have pictures for all you board members too in case you don't believe me. M7, I want to remind the board and the public of January 17th, 2019, when this very same board, along with Dotage, refused to rescind a contract with Fresh Air Solutions. This vendor was flagged by the Florida Auditor General and was also a campaign manager for guess which board member. 2 board members fought to have this contract rebid and were specifically told no, that it could not be done. Yet here we are tonight, rescinding or talking about rescinding a contract for exhaust fans and extending it for 180 days only to send it out to bid again. Why is it that we're opening up our district to unnecessary liability? Why is it that one vendor is treated differently than another? Where is the equity in that? I will finish with this. Last week, I requested from Dr. Spiro and his team a list and a process and a list of every classroom library and the books contained within it. That is not a hard request. It is one email that is sent out to everyone. And the principals have to send it out to their teachers. Give me a list of your books. It's real easy. I would like a list of those books. Please and thank you.
Hi, my name is Robert Roper, also known as Ward Cleaver. I'd like to talk about a response to a FOIA request of some of the objectionable materials in the Lee County School Media Centers and Library. Start with the youngest. This is a board book, meaning that it's designed to be handled by little kids. It's made out of cardboard. The title is And Tango Makes Three. It's about 2 male penguins that hatch an egg, a little girl penguin. This board is rated among the best books for LGBTQ families and is provided to many school libraries by the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network. This book directly opposes teaching of many parents of the faith community. Worm Loves Worm. It's for very, very young audiences, ages 4 to 8. It normalizes same-sex attraction, same-sex marriage, and it's to an inappropriate age group. This book was designed by the writer to appeal to 4 to 8-year-olds. In the book it says, which one will be the bride? Which one will be the groom? We both can, is the answer. Then the cricket points out, that's not how it's always been done. The worm answers, then we'll just do it. We'll just change how it's done. It's perfectly normal. There's nothing perfectly normal about this book. It's full of cartoon graphics of naked boys and girls and sex acts. It's designed for 10-year-olds. It's found in one of your libraries. You school board members that I met with you in person, I held this book up in front of you and you all said, no way would that be in a Lee County public school library. Not going to happen. I can't even show you or read to you those things in this book. You would shut me down. You would say it's inappropriate comment. Yet it's in our library and it's designed for 10-year-olds. When I showed you this book, I asked for a list of books, and each one of you assured me it was easy, I could do it, no problem at all. The problem was it was going to cost me $3,500 paid to the school board. It took an attorney group from California to get this book list. When you do introduce an idea that is not age appropriate, it is not education, it is indoctrination. When you introduce a concept that goes against societal norms or parental standards, it is activism. When you begin to introduce these concepts at such an early age, the result is gender confusion. Before the board comments and accuses us of wanting to ban books, that is not what we're asking. We're simply asking you to protect our children. We protect our children at school from illegal drugs, alcohol, firearms. Why not protect them from this harmful material? We need to value the innocence of our children and allow them to preserve their childhood innocence.
Will the following individuals please line up? Lara Crisfonte, Marsha Ellis, Mary Beth Ocean, Jacqueline Perez, Melissa Hatter, Latoya Weaver.
Good evening, Allie Locke. I'd like to ask, what are we doing right now to keep teachers and bus drivers? I checked the past 8 board meetings, and since July 27th, 251 teachers have resigned, 158 just since school began, and right now we have 197 open instructional positions in the district. So it's pretty evident that we have a teacher retention issue, and I'd like to bring that to light. Why are teachers leaving in droves? Are we questioning that? What are you doing to combat that? Has anyone wondered if the lack of raises for veteran teachers or bus drivers have anything to do with it? Have you conducted exit interviews with the teachers or bus drivers or support staff that are leaving to ask them why they are leaving? I wonder if those teachers that have resigned, bus drivers as well, feel that TALC and SFALC don't actually represent them the way that they claim to. Teachers and bus drivers choose to do their jobs every single day. And I hear that when I make any sort of statement about my job or about needing a raise, not being paid enough. People always say, well, you chose to do that job. That's right, because I love kids, just like our bus drivers do, just like our support staff do. But because we love our students and we show up to work every day because we love them, not because of the money that we make, we kind of get taken advantage of and put on the back burner. So I think it's only fair for you guys to help us out. Please give our teachers, our support staff, our bus drivers raises. I ask you to fight for us right now because me alone, our bus drivers here, it doesn't seem to be working. And we need your help. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jan. I want to take a minute and thank everyone involved in teaching and taking care of our students. I'll start with the board. I know you guys have a job that's not easy sometimes. I know that you've been through a lot. We've all been through a lot with COVID, but I'm going to say it. I know that you've received threats, and I'll say it publicly, and I'm sorry about that, and I want to thank you for what you do. I want to thank our teachers, I want to thank the support staff, and I want to thank the bus drivers. They all take care of our kids, and that's really important. I want to thank the board for bringing in students today. I thought that was the best thing, for bringing in students to bring us music, for bringing in a student representative, and the student who spoke about her lunches. I thought that was very important. If we're serving students, we need to listen to students. There's always solutions, and I think that should be the goal. Endless complaining does nothing, and it's not what we teach our kids, and it's not what we teach our students. I've done this before, but I want to thank you again for the strong anti-bullying policy that we have in Lee County schools. And it's because, believe it or not, of a student, an honors student from Cape Coral that we lost years ago by the name of Jeffrey Johnston. And because of his mother who rose up, because Jeffrey Johnston took his own life because he was tired of being called faggot, fat, and ugly. And because of that, the state of Florida passed a law that prohibits bullying in schools, specifically bans two things: harassment and intimidation. Therefore, we as adults can abide by these same rules and prevent ourselves from harassing other adults and intimidating other adults. If we can't expect the same out of ourselves, then something's wrong. I want to speak in support of Jacqueline McMiller. She made some really great, well-researched, thoughtful comments and pleas for our students, our children, and our families of color, and for our LGBTQ students also, and families. I want to thank, just again, the whole staff, but just a quick reminder that when we face problems, being solution-oriented is being an advocate. Nobody needs me to state the problem more eloquently. You know, be the solution, be part of the solution, suggest the solution, and that's what we teach our kids. We should be doing what we teach our kids. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I don't have a written speech. First of all, good evening to everyone. I'm coming here today as a mother. I've been dealing with the school board since 2005 when I relocated from Dade County. I've never had an issue.
Ma'am, could you just state your name, please?
Lara Crispont.
Thank you.
Yep. I raised my son, who graduated in 2016 from Mariner. He went to UCF and graduated. My daughter graduated in 2019 from Ida Baker, went to UCF as well, where she's still there. So this is my first time here at a board meeting. We've never had any issues where I felt like I had to come before the board. I currently have a child, a 13-year-old who's an 8th grader at Gulf Middle, and we are fighting an internal family fight right now because she doesn't want to go to school anymore. And the reason for that is because she has been subjected to a lot of racial slurs. First, it was her hair. From Haiti. Her father's from Nigeria, so her hair is very coarse. She wears an afro, and for some people, they don't understand the beauty or the value of it, and they make fun of that. Of course, we talk to her and explain to her, you know, it's just jealousy. Your hair can go down, it can go up, we can do braids, theirs can't. We play with it so she doesn't feel what's really happening. However, about 2 weeks ago, she was called Blackie by one of her student friends, dirt neck, and the list goes on. So I took it upon myself to go to the school. I spoke to the assistant principal. She agreed that this child was an issue and has done it to other children and it needed to be addressed. Not sure how they addressed it, but the child is still there. I reached out to Mr. Bradley, I reached out to the principal, and only then did I make enough noise that they say, okay, we need to look into this. This could be bullying and harassment and whatnot. So again, since being here in 2005, I have never had an issue where I felt that I had to come before the board, but I'm coming now because I feel that it's an issue that needs to be addressed because when your child says she doesn't want to go to school, it becomes my problem. Okay, we have, unfortunately, I have heard, I haven't been here, but I have heard that there are people here that can make derogatory comments towards certain ethnicities. So it has trickled down to administrators, obviously, who are not taking it seriously enough, and unfortunately down to even the students. I mean, we raised our daughter, she doesn't know the difference between black and white. But now she doesn't want to go to school because she's this, she's that, she's black, she's not. This is 2021, and I'm appalled that I'm even having to take time from my schedule to come here and have this conversation. Where I'm from Haiti again, we don't know black and white. And I'm ashamed that I moved from Dade County to be here, only to now be victimized by what's happening here.
Hello,
My name is Mary Beth Ocean. I'm a resident of Estero community. Good evening, Lee County School Board members and Mr. Savage. I have challenged the location of the new school on Three Oaks since October 2020. Why here, I asked? Why not Williams Road? After investing over $4 million on the land parcels, it was decided that after the Parkland shootings in 2017, the Williams site would not allow for the kind of security needed. Of course, my District 3 representative failed to give me an exact reason. She just sent me a 75-page document prepared by the Florida Department of Education. Meanwhile, between April and May 2020, Lee's school district and the Estero Village made a unilateral decision without proper procedure to place the future new school on Three Oaks. There was no action vote by the school board, no notice to the public, no community outreach, no nothing. The school district failed to put a banner on the property to give notice to the surrounding communities, and no one knew. The taxpayers did not know. Let's remember the drawbacks of a school on Three Oaks, a single entry exit school. This is so wrong for many reasons. The proposition of a school 1,900 feet from one of the busiest intersections in Estero will make this a traffic nightmare with no future solution. This is a wetland site. It is a floodplain issue from surrounding communities. In comprehensive plans throughout the country, no schools or churches are to be built on wetlands. As growth continues, we need to be very careful what we do on existing wetlands, lest we forget the collapse of Surfside Towers, which was built on wetlands. The site would be very dangerous for children to walk or bike to school. They would have to navigate across two of the busiest intersections in Estero. Again, the student population numbers used to validate the construction of a new school, which were presented to the Florida Department of Ed. Why would we need a school here on Three Oaks when all the growth is occurring off of Corkscrew further east of 175 and Lehigh? That's when I discovered that Lee County Schools has approximately 1,900 students in portables, while the rest of Lee County has only a fraction. Where is this going? Is this discriminatory decisions by the board? I'm hoping that you members here will do the right thing and stop the school from being built there.
Good evening, board. I'd like to speak about the complaint that was placed against the school district for the quadruple A school. And I'm going to plead with you tonight for one of you to be brave enough to make a motion to stop this construction immediately. One of you has to have the courage to come forward and protect the most vulnerable children that we have in District 5 that are being continuously ignored. I'm going to read you some numbers that I was given last week from the district of the capacity in District 3. In Bonita Elementary, the capacity is 604. It is occupied presently by 547. In Pine Woods, the capacity is 1,142. You have 1,107 students there. In Rama, you have capacity for 855. You have 827. And I can go on. Spring Creek, you have 692, and it's occupied by 662. Three Oaks, 1,041 capacity, you have 1,014. There are no numbers in District 3 that prove you have 117% population. Those are all exaggerated and fabricated numbers. For whatever reasons you did it, it's wrong. One of you has to have the courage tonight to stop this madness. This is hurting children. We have children in Lehigh who don't even have desks. They have the highest rate of dropouts. They have the highest rate of lowest achievement rates. They have the highest rate of violence due to overcrowding. You imagine you put children and you squeeze them in there like sardines, and they're going to have trouble. You cannot treat children like this. And all children deserve to be treated equally. I am pleading with you to have some sensibility, to have some kindness, to have some fairness and some equity, and to stop this construction. Please. I'm going to speak quickly on the contract that's being pulled. I think that you need to also review that. Do not take a vote on that contract. That contract that was spoken about before in 2019 of Fresh Air Solutions led to ethics complaints against a board member, false ethic complaints. I want to remind you all that you need to be fair and equitable to all your vendors. And what is being done to Country Cooling is totally discriminatory. Thank you.
Hello. Even though the board chair confirmed receipt of the following, I have not been contacted regarding my appeal of the HR and Beyond investigation, for which I have documentation proving the findings inaccurate, 2 lighthouse complaints from May, or 2 complaints from October 5th, nor the complaint of my 13 public records requests that are being denied without statutory exemption. I mentioned that a couple weeks ago, still haven't heard from you. Dr. Savage, I look forward to hearing from you as a follow-up from our meeting back in July. However, tonight I will focus on the illegal issues with the public comment policy proposal. Attorney Bruno stated she removed the phrase personal attack to conform with case law, yet merely substituted it with like language. Lines 17 and 120. Public comment subjects are not limited to agenda items, as the public is permitted to discuss any school district business, hence your line 7. Lines 20 through 23. Open public comment should not be moved until after adjournment. This is obviously a blatant attempt to reduce the amount of public comments, and it's obvious to everyone that that's all it is. Line 129, 130. This is not the spirit of the law that provides us the opportunity to speak on any district matters by reducing the time and number for people on non-agenda items. Lines 138, 179, and 203 all implement viewpoint restrictions. The personal opinion of relevance, respect, and appropriateness by the board chair is a violation to the public's First Amendment rights. 4 speakers before me, she was allowed to name somebody by name. You didn't stop her. Line 154, in order for the board to restrict comments from group members, the board must be able to provide official proof of the official group and the roster they provided you with of their members. 156, this is America. Our right to express ourselves is protected. Line 175, please state the law preventing peaceful public protests with signage and flyers on government property. 201, the public's legally permitted to address any elected public official and may not have that right limited to the board chair. Line 220, the board nor sergeant of arms have legal authority to deny the public's legal right to speak on board matters. Lines 229 and 231, it is not illegal to invoke our constitutional rights. The law provides for a maximum 10-year prison term for denying the public of their constitutional rights. If you can't do it, I suggest everybody run for school board against these people because they don't deserve to be here. They implemented a new policy. We can't even address them at recess or after.
Very much.
Hello, my name is Marsha Ellis, and I came to the school board meeting tonight and felt like my spirit had been lifted because I could see some of those things that are traditional in our community returning. Things like the presentation of the choir, student representatives, and it just felt like the temperature of the room had come down a few degrees, and I think that's great. What I want to do is I want to come back to that message of unity, of when I first came to a board meeting a couple of months ago, and I was shocked because people seem so far apart that they didn't want to work together for the benefit of the kids in this community. And today, we had the presentation from the ECCL that talked about the efforts that the community has put together to educate the kids about an important topic, financial literacy. We have heard from people who previously had opposing messages speak about a common issue, which is our teacher retention, the retention of our bus drivers, and showing respect for the education sector. As a community, we can do a lot to create a positive narrative, and it's really up to us. We can take a hold, we can seize the moment, and we can start to do for our community. Personally, I'm trying to organize a food truck for our bus drivers on a community level, because I think it's important that they know that we appreciate them. Hey, you brought those kids to me at Varsity Lakes for 10 years, and I want to give back. I appreciate you, and I want to model for the rest of the community what can happen whenever you put yourself out there. And I encourage anyone who is concerned about retention of bus drivers, is concerned about retention of teachers, to step on out there, put yourself out there. Let's work together as a community. Let's put down our elbows and let's work together to get something done and show the kind of people that we are. This is Lee County, Florida, our home. We love our educators. Everybody from daycare to adult ed. We are there. We are one sector, regardless of whether we're mopping the floors, we're keeping people safe in the schools, we're driving a bus, we're educating kids. We are one sector, and we're going to stand together in order to lift this community up out of a tragic, troubling time. And I welcome a coalition with anyone to get that done. Thank you.
Will the following individual please line up? Rebecca Carries.
Hi, my name is LaToya Weaver. I come as a bus driver and as a, I can go now. Oh, I'm sorry. As a bus driver and as a parent. As a bus driver, I've been in the district almost now 23 years, and I'm tired. I'm tired of being overworked, underpaid. I'm tired. I never say anything. I sat in the meeting last week. I stood out because I was the only driver that sat up in the front. So y'all that did come, y'all see me. I sat in the front because I wanted to hear, because y'all are my peers. But I was one of those drivers that came to work last Monday. And what I seen was a whole bunch of kids that were left behind, not because the drivers was taking a stand. It was because I felt like a lot of my coworkers are tired. We get up 3:30 in the morning. We have no breaks. We make breaks. Put it that way. We make a break. This district don't care about our department. And since we spoke out to y'all, it's like our supervisors have turned their back on us. Everybody got an attitude because we voiced our opinion. We didn't have a voice. We always stayed quiet. Now that we don't said something, now our superiors, they have a problem with it. Why? Why do everybody have a problem with it? I know none of y'all don't want to go to work and get underpaid from the job that y'all perform. And that's us. That's our department. I seen that I had I work in the East Zone, and I seen 19 superiors, meaning supervisor, director, dispatch, 19 people. Out of the 19, it was 4 of the 19 people that was present at work last Monday hold the CDL. So it was 19 routes that could have been covered had they had a CDL. So I don't understand why we have peers over us and they can't even do our job, but yet they tell us what to do. They try to tell us how we ought to be on the bus, how we supposed to be as a driver. Y'all need to just go back And y'all need to reevaluate a lot of stuff that's going on in our department. And really, really look into transportation, not just sweep us under the rug and send an email out. Because I see y'all in the news, I read, it said we was having another meeting. It wasn't another meeting, not with the drivers. So who did you have a meeting with? So I'm just trying to figure out what is going on. And is we getting a raise or not? Because they saying ain't no money. So if ain't no money, I know this driver right here would be gone as of December if I don't get nothing. I'm not working for free no more.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Carries, and I'm a student of the Lee County School District, here to speak on behalf of my peers, educators, and transporters. I've been a student of this county for the past 6 years, and I have to say it has been the most unpleasant experience of my life. I have faced bullying for my race, my gender, and surprisingly, my accent. In the past 6 years, my mental health has reached a low that no teenager should ever face. I am here tonight asking that our teachers and drivers are receiving the respect they deserve. When they can't do their jobs properly, my peers and I can't learn. In the past year, I was supposed to be learning chemistry, and I did not retain a single thing due to the fact that my educator had given up and was no longer giving his all. Our transporters are waking up at unspeakable hours and coming home later than acceptable, giving them no free time to spend with their families. The people at school who are supposed to care about us no longer do. We have guidance counselors who do not take us seriously, and teachers who have given up due to you, the board, failing to support them. I ask that the people who hold this community together are able to get the help that they deserve so that I can receive a proper education, safe transportation, and healthy meals.
Madam Chair, that concludes public comment. There's just one speaker that I think that the administration has to take a look at, which would be Mr. Robinson. So I would caution in terms of any comments about Mr. Robinson until there's a little bit more clarity.
Okay. Well, first of all, I would like to thank everybody who have spoken this evening. Our students, I really appreciate the students who speak, and Caitlin, thank you for sharing that about the food, and we have a representative from your school, right, Kristen? We're going to take that back. We're going to look at the food, because you have your representative here, so we can make that happen. Also, Rebecca, thank you. Really appreciate students who come out and speak. I know it's difficult, and I appreciate your time. Our bus drivers and teachers, I just have to say, I'm going to speak for me. I appreciate you to the end. And I know you all came out to that meeting. Dr. Savage was there. He heard what you all said. He had staff there that really listened to what you said. And I know that, I don't know, Dr. Savage, if you want to speak on that for a minute, because for them to stand here and believe that they have no voice and now there's an attitude, I have a problem with that. And that cannot be, because we want to hear what they have to say. So I need you to maybe
I'm happy to
comment on that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're very happy to hear the feedback. I think it's very important that the bus drivers were heard. They really filled up Lehigh Senior Auditorium. There were hundreds of drivers there. It was powerful to hear, and what it really kind of resonated was that there's a lot of work to be done. I can't speak to why supervisors would have given a cold shoulder, but that's not acceptable. Clearly, we all would agree that our drivers come first there. That's what that transportation apparatus is there. They're the bedrock of that successful operation, so we care tremendously. Obviously, we're not going to talk about compensation because we're in bargaining right now. That's something that is being bargained, so I can't get into any specifics about compensation, but certainly we value all of our employees tremendously. So as it pertains to teachers, I think we can all acknowledge teachers have been through quite a bit this year, as have all of our staff members. We're not just short in teachers, we're short in support staff. That's all manner of positions in our schools. The conditions have been very, very difficult coming through the Delta pandemic, and then just looking around our entire community. There's a lot of staffing challenges out there, not just in the school district, but really in retail, in the hospitality industry, and many others. So this is not something that we are unique in facing. but we have an obligation to get to a better solution, not just in compensation, but also in the general working conditions. So we hear the frustration of employees, some of whom came here today and many who did not. That is a huge priority for us, and we continue to work on that piece. Hopefully for those who tune into the bargaining, they can hear about some of those issues that are talked about. Those meetings are recorded, so people can listen to what the various sides are kind of bringing as priorities. That's an ongoing process, so that it doesn't, it's more than just compensation. I talk about a lot of the other issues that are priorities as we go through that process as well.
Thank you, and Ms. Locke, thank you for always bringing and speaking on the teachers. And we do actually, because I had asked that question regarding exit interviews, and I was informed that yes, because to me, that's something that we really need to be doing, so that way we can assess the situation, and that is something that, that does take place. As far as the policy 1.111 that was spoken about this afternoon at the briefing, that has not been implemented. That's going to be coming back for a further discussion. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody does understand that that is, we will be having more discussion over that. And again, I just really appreciate all of you sharing with us. The next, approval of the consent action items. Next is the approval of the action items in the agenda under consent. The documentation for action items listed under consent is made available to the board members 7 business days prior to the board meeting. We are expected to review all the materials, and we have the opportunity to speak with the superintendent with any questions we may have regarding the recommendations. Some of these items have also been briefed or workshopped with the board in advance of appearing on the action items agenda. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under unfinished business, tabled items portion of the agenda? Ms. Giovanelli?
Okay, I think I have one. I'm thinking, and I sent an email just really quick a few minutes ago. It's M9 to reject the ITN number N217404JA exhaust fans repair and replacement. And I'm just pulling that item.
Okay, and then Ms. Giovanelli, I'm just going to say this is for everyone. When we receive an email when we're at a board meeting, when our concentration should be on what is taking place here, hopefully none of us are on our emails. So I'm not sure who did receive it or who did not receive that, but I think that that's something that we need to just have a little bit thoughtfulness there, so that way we could all be on, understand what each other is pulling. Ms. Fisher, do you have any items?
I have no polls this evening.
Ms. Patrica?
No, thank you.
Ms. Gittens?
I have J3. It's a standing poll.
I'm sorry, J3?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Ms. Vaughn?
I was actually also going to pull M9.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. Ms. Morgan?
I have no polls.
Okay, and I have none. Is there a motion to approve the agenda action item with the exception of the pulled items N9 and J3?
I move that we accept the agenda with the exception of, is it N9?
N9?
N9 and
I believe
J3.
it's M.
M like in
M.
Mary.
I'm so sorry.
M9 and J3.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens. And a second, please.
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Giovanelli. And can you please record your vote? Is it 7-0? Thank you, 7-0, motion carries. Okay, and excuse me, 1 second, please. Are you good to stay for a little bit longer? Okay. I had to consult with my friend here. So moving along, we have 2 pulled items to address. Dr. Savage, will you please read your recommendation for pulled item M9?
Yes, Madam Chair. Item M9, approval to reject all proposals for ITN number N217404JA for exhaust fans repair and replacement.
Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion to adopt Dr. Savage's recommendation?
I'll move to adopt Dr. Savage's recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. And may I have a second?
I'll second. Morgan.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. Okay, so item has been moved by Ms. Fisher and seconded by Ms. Morgan, and now we're in discussion. And Ms. Giovanelli, please.
So I believe we had a guest speaker tonight, a public speaker tonight regarding this item, and I would just like to see this tabled till we get more information exactly what transpired. I have to respect someone that would come here and bring it to our attention, and I read through it and I kind of understand it, and so I would just like to see this tabled until we have a little more information, and that's where I'm at.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Vaughn?
Yeah, and I too would like more information, but I do want to also go over the public content here. The idea that for many of our proposals that we get not very many responses, that's not something new. There was one of the speakers referred to something from a couple years ago, and I believe that what the speaker was referring to is something that I was involved in early on in my time on the board. And I remember at that time, I was wondering, well, you know, this is a really big county, and why is it that for these important contracts, why aren't our businesses applying for these? I've come to understand it quite a bit better, or I would be really slow if I hadn't, but, and I realized, you know, there are a lot of criteria that the different vendors need to meet. The interesting thing with this, and this is why it just came to my head today, or as during this meeting, is that we had the speaker who is the speaker who just had his, let's see, what number was that? It was M8?
No, 7, sorry.
7. So this person's company has this contract right now and had approval. We just gave approval for that to be extended for 180 days. This goes on in the public content to say that due to the low number of responsive proposals the district received for this ITN, it's recommended that all proposals be rejected and a new solicitation be issued. And I just don't get that. So because there were few people, but there's somebody who's good enough to have served in this contract now and to be extended for half of a year, we're just going to reject all the proposals and do a new solicitation? Frankly, that doesn't make sense to me. I know I should have asked for this yesterday. Frankly, I was homesick. And so it really didn't click with me, to be honest, until the two speakers tonight that brought it up. So this is why it's coming right now. So I don't know if it's appropriate for, or if Dr. Savage has anything that he can say on why would all proposals be rejected?
He is going to speak. That's
Yeah.
Ms. Vaughn.
Because there are only two.
Yes, I'm happy to pull the item. That's what I think would be the best recommendation right now, is to pull the item and ensure that any appropriate backup information could be answered. Typically, as you know, procedurally, we do go through this at the agenda review phase, but whenever there's concerns about a particular item, the first thing I look is, are there any significant negative implications of pulling the item so that we can have a proper level of information and backup information provided? So I've checked, and there's no issue with us pulling this item, and then we'll provide information, and that we'll go from there.
Well, and I thank you for that, and I would be happy for that, and I apologize for not doing it yesterday. That's my only excuse, that I was kind of out of it in listening in to the board meeting, but quite frankly, sometimes it happens, as I said, that we have some speakers that shine a light on something, and so, you know, between that and Mrs. Giovanelli pulling it, that's why I thought, I really can't in good conscience support this one. So I appreciate that you would table this.
Well, he's pulling it, he's not tabling it. And then, so Ms. Fisher would need to take back her motion? Or just, it's fine then,
There's
right?
no more
Okay.
items.
I don't need to table it.
It's done. So if you want to just officially just withdraw the motion.
I withdraw my table.
Been pulled.
Thank you.
Same.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we have, Dr. Savage, please read your recommendation for pulled item J3.
Yes, ma'am. Item J3, a recommended action of approval of the monthly budget report for the period ending September 30th, 2021.
Okay, do I have, is there a motion to adopt Dr. Savage's recommendation? Ms. Morgan?
I move we approve Dr. Savage's recommendation for the monthly budget report for the period ending September 30, 2021.
Thank you.
Second that. I'll second it.
Okay, Ms. Fisher, Ms. Vaughn?
I think Ms. Fisher was
Whoever
first.
does it.
Ms. Fisher, okay. So, okay, the item has been moved by Ms. Morgan and seconded by Ms. Fisher. Is there any discussion? And Ms. Gittens?
Okay, the reason I said a standing poll, I have said for the last, I think, year and a half, that I would not vote on anything that had to do with South K-8 quadruple A. I have stated my reasons previously. I do not feel that it's necessary, and I understand this is a budget of things that happened, but it's just a process for me. I will not vote for anything that has that in there. I am very concerned that we move forward so quickly on things, and before you know it, there's a school, or, you know, we're too far along in the process. I am still very concerned that it started out at 72 million and is now at 93. And I understand that we still haven't received the 9 million in steel that we purchased, and when we do, then that will be added to it as well. It's just a concern for me, and I've stated this before, so I will not vote on anything that has it in there. No offense to any of the other items in there, but I just, on principle, cannot do that.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Ms. Giovanelli?
I have a lot of concern over the K-8 school as well, and I will be supporting Ms. Gittens and not be supporting this tonight, and it only has to do with that item as well. I have shared my concerns recently, and I'm going to continue to do what Ms. Gittens said about this school until I get more information on it and the numbers are accurate. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? No other discussion? Okay. Please record. We're going to go ahead and take a hand vote then. Ms. Morgan?
Aye.
Ms. Vaughn?
Aye.
Ms. Gittens?
Nay.
Ms. Patrica?
Aye.
Ms. Giovanelli?
Nay.
Ms. Fisher?
Aye.
And Jordan, aye. Motion carries 5-2. Dr. Savage, please present your recommendation for this evening's public hearing item.
Yes, Madam Chair. In Q1, approval of the District Educational Facilities Plan for fiscal years 2022 through 2041. Each district school board shall prepare a tentative district educational facilities plan that includes long-range planning for facilities needs over a 5-year, 10-year, and 20-year periods. The plan must be developed in coordination with the general purpose local governments and be consistent with the local government comprehensive plans. The effective date of the District Educational Facilities Plan shall be November 3rd, 2021.
Thank you. We will now recess the regular school board meeting and open the public hearing. As indicated, the public hearing this evening is to consider approval of the District Educational Facility Plan for the fiscal years 2022 through 2041. Each district school board shall prepare a tentative district educational facility plan that includes long-range planning for facility needs over 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years periods. The plan must be developed in coordination with the general purpose local governments and be consistent with the local government comprehension plans. The effective date of the district educational facility plan shall be November 3rd, 2021. At this time, the public will be invited to speak on this one item. The time allowed for comment is 3 minutes. Is there anyone, it doesn't matter if it's the right or left, is there anyone in the room that would like to address the board on this particular item? If so, please go to the lectern podium. And it's regarding the approval of the district educational facility plan.
Chair Jordan, if I'm off base in any way, please just let me know, because I'm not 100% familiar with that, but it seems like this fits in, okay? I can't imagine that anybody that's in this room that encountered another individual, be it somebody because they were disabled or due to an ethnic origin, saw something occurring to them and wouldn't step in to assist. None of us. I think we would all go to bat for everybody. It wouldn't matter their sex, their race, their disability. Yet all we've been asking for is information to prove that we're building in the right area, and we haven't gotten it. So why have we already spent upwards of $20 million and then continue to move along with it, when we know that this is impacting children? I am imploring you. This is just not okay. I took a ride one day with my husband out through East Lee and Lehigh just to go see the facilities. I couldn't believe what I saw. Varsity Middle looks like a prison. So if it was somebody that you were encountering in the street, they fell in front of traffic, would you not pick them up because of their sex or their race or their disability? Yet we're moving forward with this plan as a fait accompli. Why? Why? Where is the data? Please, where's the data? Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on the approval of the district educational facility plan? I'm going to ask it one more time. Is there anyone else that would care to speak on the approval of the district educational facility plan? Seeing none, I will now close this public hearing and reconvene the regular school board meeting of November 2nd, 2021. Dr. Savage, please restate your recommendation for this evening's public hearing items.
Yes, Madam Chair. Q1, District Educational Facilities Plan for the fiscal years 2022 through 2041.
Thank you. You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the district educational facility plan for the fiscal year 2022 through 2041. Each school board shall prepare a tentative district educational facility plan that includes long-range planning for facilities needs over 5-year, 10-year, and 20-year periods. The plan must be developed in coordination with the general purpose, local governments, and be consistent with the local government comprehension plans. The effective date of the district educational facility plan shall be November 3rd, 2021. Board members, is there a motion to approve? Anybody? Ms. Morgan?
I move we approve the district educational facilities plan for the fiscal years 2022 through 2041.
Thank you. And a second, please.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Is there any discussion? Ms. Morgan?
Yeah, I would just like to point out to the listening public that there are, I believe, 39 pages of detail about this particular plan. And I think that anybody who's interested in what we intend to do long-term and how it relates to our growth, et cetera, take a look at that, the very detailed plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. Is there, Ms. Gittens?
I just want to say, first of all, thank you to those that prepared this, Dr. Desmore and her team. I and Dr. Savage, under your direction, I appreciate the number of times that I see East Zone on here as a project. I want you to know I do appreciate that. I think that I am, I don't know how to put it, I guess, shell-shocked in some way over the last 3 years to get to this point where we do have more happening in the East Zone. But again, we still haven't stopped the one expenditure that I'm really concerned about. And I know that there will be enough votes to go ahead and pass this. I can't of good conscience pass anything that says quadruple A anywhere on it. I feel it's a misuse of taxpayer money. It's just my personal opinion. I don't have the information to tell me that it's not. So again, I appreciate the moving up and adding more in the East Zone, but I can't help but think how many times projects have been, and no offense to the current administration, but their projects have been on the 5-year plan and moved to the 10-year plan, and I just worry about priorities and resources. I know that it will go through and we will be, building schools. I just ask that you listen and understand. And actually, I long for the day that other board members see what I see and understand why it means so much to me. It's not East Zone, it's not Lehigh, it's not District 5, it's children in general. And I feel that we as a board, anytime we, shortchange any child, that it's all of our responsibility. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens. Is there any other discussion? Oh, I'm so sorry, Ms. Patrica. You did have your hand up. I apologize.
So there's been quite the outcry for information. I'd like the board to recall that on May 26, 2020, we received a 24-page memo from staff regarding overcapacity issues in South Zone schools. It also presented the board with several options with regard to building a school there. The other thing I'll point out to you is something that came in front of us today, which is Exhibit A associated with the referendum, the half-penny sales tax referendum, where we promised the taxpayers in voting for this referendum an elementary school in the East Zone, a middle school in the East Zone, a high school in the East Zone, an elementary and middle school in the South Zone. The elementary school, the middle school, and the high school have all been built in the East Zone, and the South Zone schools have not yet been built. Finally, the state has approved this school. The state requires us to prove the need before they will approve the school. The state has approved this school, which means that we have demonstrated through the use of factual data and information that the school is necessary because we are over capacity. I will be supporting this item. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Fisher, now I have
Ms. Fisher?
Yeah, I just want to appreciate this long-term plan, which is in compliance with responsibilities that we have legally. And I just happened to notice as I was looking through it that there is a zero expectation that we get PICO funds back over the next long-term planning. So that was of interest to me after our conversation regarding sharing the sales tax with the charter schools. And so I also appreciate the description of the use of the revenue sources on this report. And I also know that as we grow, we update this from time to time so it can change with need and population expansion as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. G?
No,
Well, I want to hear from people who have not spoke first, and then I'll go back to.
It is a detailed plan, and I'm like literally on the fence because of the fact that I don't feel like it's equitable, but it is a detailed plan that we need and that we need to, so I will support it, but I still question the timing, and the moving from Block Lane to Three Oaks. We never voted to do that, so I'm not going to, that's why I'm having a hard time with that decision being made, just automatically moving and not allowing the public to comment on it. And I've expressed that quite a bit lately, but I will support this plan because of all the other needs that are on there based on just that one school. I'm not going to stop progress. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gittens?
One of the things that I have asked for, and I still haven't seen, I even tried to get it from Tallahassee. Ms. Patrica mentioned several times that it was approved by the DOE, and I would like to see all of the paperwork that was submitted to DOE from the inception of this project to the current time. I have still not seen that, and if I saw all of those details, I think that I would have maybe a different opinion of it. But from the data that I have pulled and that I have looked at and the homework that I have done, I don't see the numbers that we're being told. And prove me wrong, please.
And I just want to say, too, when we speak of the East Zone, the South Zone, and the West Zone, we're actually sitting in the South Zone. So South Zone is not a stero, or we have to remember that when we're talking about where our kids are coming from. So they're coming from all over. So I just want to make sure that we're understanding that who our kids are and the zones when we're speaking on zones. Ms. Gittens?
Okay, so to that point, we have been told that there are 3 schools that make up the 117%, thus the need for quadruple A. Within 3.2 miles of quadruple A are 4 schools, and San Carlos is one of those schools. They are at 70% capacity. When you take all 4 schools together that are within 3.2 miles of the new school, you come up with 96%. Like I said, please prove me wrong, but I have calculated and calculated and asked, and that's what I see.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens. Is there any other discussion? See no other discussion. If you would please record your vote. I'm so sorry. Ms. Thomas? Thank you. Appreciate that. Next on our order of business is board member comments. And if I may, I'm going to ask Kristen to go ahead and be the first one to give your comments tonight. We're in the portion where we all have comments, a lot of time to speak, but I would love for you to be the first one to do that, on what you've seen, what you feel, whatever you want to say. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I am a student, as you all may know, at North Myers High School. And I'd firstly like to say and to appreciate the board's efforts from recovering from COVID-19. Specifically, my school just hosted what we call movie night, where we sat out on the field and we watched a movie, we held concessions, and we really got back that social aspect that I feel has been lacking in the last 2 to 3 years due to COVID-19. And I just wanted to say I greatly appreciate the board's efforts from this, because I know personally in 7th and 8th grade, 7th grade being cutting short for myself in 8th grade, it was amazing to feel that aspect again. Like in the years previous, we had not, myself and my other friends and fellow students, we had not had that social aspect, and that is one of the greatest, I'd say, elements of school culture. So again, I'd like to thank the board for their efforts on recovering from COVID-19. I'd also like to speak on another topic that I hold dear to my heart, and that a lot of other students in my school, and I know across the district, hold dear to their heart, is mental health. The school district has a lot of challenges and a lot of complications generally, but I'd like to ask that the school district take special interest in mental health. Mental health, it can be positive or negative, but in the elements of it being negative, it doesn't just affect the person, but it affects the people around them, and it affects their overall performance as students. Mental health can be anxiety, it can be depression, it can be bipolar disorders. But I'd like to say that it especially affects teens, and it's affecting teens now more than ever recorded or heard of. And I have friends close to me who have self-harmed or who have tried to commit suicide. And it's a matter that I hold, again, dear to my heart, and I'd like to ask that the board take special interest in this topic in the coming years for it. Finally, I'd like to say that another topic held even more deeply to my heart is the issue of sexual harassment and assault in our schools. My best friend, who I talk with constantly and who I constantly interact with, has a personal connection to this. but sexual assault and harassment happens more often than we seem to think and that a lot of sources seem to address. It's an issue that also affects children, and I'm not talking teens, I'm talking 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds. And it's an issue that carries over to that student's and that child's overall life. The impacts of these scenarios occurring to children lasts for years and for the rest of their life. It's something that they do not forget. Now, every scenario is different in the way that the person perceives it. But I'd like to ask that I'm working on a personal campaign myself with my friend that I just spoke about, that we would like to eventually introduce to the district before we graduate. And I'd like to see it take off, but I will save that for later. But I'd like to ask that the board take special interest in sexual assault and harassment, in modifying the policies, because if I read correctly, last year when I joined the Student Advisory Committee, if I read correctly in the Code of Conduct, if a person assaults another individual, specifically students, of course law enforcement gets involved in the disciplinary actions, but it did not dictate enough zero tolerance for the issue. It did not dictate that that person is removed from that school immediately and cordially. And although I am not a victim of the issue, I know plenty of people who are, and it's not something to be taken lightly. It should be something that should be on everyone's mind. But again, I'd like to thank the school board for their efforts in recovering from COVID-19, and I'd like to ask that sexual harassment, assault, and mental health be taken as major priorities in the board's actions. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Are you good to stay for a little bit longer? Okay. Ms. Fisher, I'm going to begin with you, please.
Okay. Thank you. I want to offer thanks to Reverend Suarez for being here this evening, and for Mr. Train from Fort Myers High School for bringing the chorus. They were awesome, and their music was beautiful. I'm so glad that Christian is here and that we have our student advisory representative back with us at the board table. And he filled you in on what is going on with our students who are members of our student advisory and their peers. And before, when we had the public speaking, we had someone talk about our anti-bullying policy. So in 2005, when Debbie's son, took his life, I had an opportunity to join with her and a group of people and many students in lobbying in Tallahassee and in Washington for the anti-bullying law. We are one of the leaders in the country. Many of the other states have modeled after Florida's law. What happened with that and why it passed so fully in 3 years was the students were the ones who did the lobbying. They visited the Senate and the House in Tallahassee several times, and even took a trip to Washington, courtesy of JetBlue, to lobby for that. So, and with suicide, as a result of bullying being the second leading cause of death in teenagers, I appreciate Christian's comments this evening. I always say, listen to the students, because they know what is going on in our schools. They have their own subculture. So whenever we are making plans for what needs to be done, whenever we are making rules for them to follow, they need to be part of that process. So welcome back, Christian, and thank you. You're doing an awesome job. Our CSI committee, I know, reported this afternoon at the briefing meeting, and we will be meeting again on the 10th of November, and we will have a presentation on comprehensive and mental health from our Student Services Department. Let's see. I want to say that I did attend the insurance task force meeting.
Thank you.
And thank you, and that we had a lot of good news, including the fact, and I may have said this once before, but there have been literally millions of dollars saved in claims by the participation of our workforce in the wellness programs that we have had over the last 5 or 6 years. So let me see what else. Last Thursday, we had the Drug-Free Coalition Red Ribbon Awards, which highlighted our student who have academic success, athletic prowess, and artistic talent. And it was a full house. The audience was so beautifully behaved and so supportive of the kids. It was really a great event, and I want to thank Deb Camilla from the Coalition for all of her programs that support our kids leading a healthy and drug-free lifestyle. Our talc and spout people through the FEA have won a platinum and gold award for increasing their membership and continuing to work with us in negotiating to try to support and get those raises that our teachers, our support staff, and without saying our bus drivers need. With that, I just want to say that I know that we're looking at the relationships between our administrators and our workers, and we are supporting improvement in those situations when needed, and I know people are putting a lot of effort into that. And finally, I just want to say thank you to those bus drivers that get our kids to school and home safely every day. And I know they're tired, and I know they're overworked because we are short-staffed. And to all of the teachers and all of our staff who go above and beyond every day to try to provide our kids with a good education. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Ms. Morgan, I'm going to bounce around. I'm bouncing.
Yeah, that's okay. I actually only have one comment. People in public comment say that they don't have the opportunity to talk to us or they don't have enough time to talk to us. My district office number is 239-337-8303. I'm happy to talk with anybody who makes an appointment with me. My email address is Kathleen, O-M, C-A-T-H-L-E-E-N, O-M as in Mary, @leeschools.net. Please contact me if there's something that you would like to discuss. It's difficult to sit here and listen to you all talk at us and not have the opportunity to respond to what you say immediately. I much prefer a one-on-one or invite me to come speak to a group, and I'm happy to do that. So those are my comments this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Giovanelli?
Thank you. I just have a couple things. I just wanted to let people know that the Edison Festival Light is going to have a parade this year, and so I want to make sure that the kids are involved because they have a children's parade and the Grand Night Parade, and I just wanted to bring that to people's attention because I'd like for them to make sure we have a lot of participation. We're really kind of worried about it this year that we're not going to have a lot of participation.
Could you say the dates? Because it's
well,
like
it's
January 19th.
February the 13th, which happens to be Super Bowl Sunday. So that's why I'm a little concerned. And then I think that it's the 19th, that following Saturday is the Grand Parade. But in that, there's a junior run on for the children's parade. So I think that's always exciting to watch. And then just to remind everybody too that we also have the Skimtastics with that, as well as the science fair. So I'm not sure exactly, I haven't been able to attend all the meetings this year, if that's going to be virtual or not, but I know that Skimtastics is going to be in person, and we're still deciding if it's going to still stay here at the district or not. There's still, I don't attend that meeting, so I'm waiting for an update on that, but, or have it back downtown where they used to have it. So they're still working out those details, but the other things that I had was for the superintendent regarding the busing situation and to address the time clock thing, and please, bus drivers, thank you so much that you were here, and I am sorry for the environment that you're dealing with, but change doesn't happen super fast. So just be patient, and I promise you, you're going to have change. And I apologize for any retaliation that you're receiving. I hope that changes first thing tomorrow morning, actually. So, and thank you for being here late, because I know you get up very early. And thank those other colleagues with you, because we could not do this without you. And so I want you to know that. And I really appreciate you working that Monday when others chose not to. But I do respect the stand that they took at that time. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, I had a couple people talk to me about, and this is just for the calendar committee, and I forget who's on the calendar committee, but a parent brought up the fact that what is our attendance the day after Halloween? Because some schools apparently had that day off on Monday, you know, and it fell on a Sunday this year, but they think they're curious if we have a large absenteeism on that day and what the numbers are. And I would just be curious, because it was kind of funny, because I have friends that had their children at Varro and they had Monday off. I said, oh, for the holiday of Halloween, okay. And so it was kind of a joke, and then I had parents reach out to me about it. I'm like, well, that's funny that you mentioned it. So I thought I'd ask about that, because I heard that even like the day after Super Bowl, the attendance is down, so for even employees. So I'm just curious myself on that. Another thing that I had, and I wanted to bring up with the board recently was, and I had my notes on it. So I do talk about accountability a lot, and I feel like I have to be accountable, and I have to hold employees accountable, and my employees are auditor, board attorney, and the superintendent. And so, and to show my commitment, I wanted to bring this up for topic. I wanted to bring it up earlier, but we ran out of time today. So I apologize for doing it this evening. And then I didn't send a memo out because I don't know what the board's appetite is regarding this, but I am committed that, and I'm just going to read what I have, because I'm committed to making sure all employees are successful. I would like to discuss our recent board attorney interim evaluation. Personal improvement plan is used when there's a commitment to help employees and make professional improvements. Based on the interim review or interim evaluation that I submitted, I feel that there are timely issues that should be addressed by the board, and it shows that all are dedicated and taking the step to help our board attorney be successful and acknowledge and address these things that we deem necessary. So I would like to see us discuss this at a top, either discuss it. I would like to see a 6-month plan and goals put in place, because I feel like that we're not addressing some of the issues, and we want to make sure that she gets the support that's needed. I'm very concerned over that. And for us to be successful, she needs to be successful, and it works both ways. And so my suggestion is to either have a workshop to discuss a plan in place, and I don't know what the board's appetite is for that.
We'll go ahead and ask. I mean, this is something we could have brought up when we just did our workshop yesterday for that.
I know, but we ran out of time for that as well, so.
So we can bring that back to that workshop to put on the priority list?
Well, my only concern is we do an evaluation every 6 months and then a final evaluation. And if we don't help her now, how does that, if we give her 2 months and then 6 months has passed. I mean, so I don't understand how we don't address it immediately. This is some of the things that I feel like this board does, is we kick the can down the road, and then therefore we fail. And I want to make sure that she's hired additional staff, and I need to see how that's all going to play out, and we need to actually have a plan in place. And I don't know if it's a personal improvement plan or what, but I feel, and it was based on my only evaluation. I haven't seen any other evaluations, and we don't necessarily do that, but I don't want to wait 6 months and be addressing this publicly at that point, and that's why I think we need to address it sooner than later.
Okay, anybody have any comment? Ms. Gittens?
Yes, and actually I agree. And if you recall, I was the one that had reminded us and brought up the 6-month evaluation. And I go back to my statement in corporate settings. It's always a process to help someone to be their best and to do their best and achieve what they need to help them during this process. And I think we have kind of dropped the ball in that we did the evaluation. I don't know, is there some policy that we don't see the full process? But I think we need to do some discussion about it. I do not think it should go on our project list, which continues to just go on and on. I think it is something, as I spoke earlier about priorities, it needs to be a priority. It's been, I think it was October 15th, it'll be a month before we even get back together again, you know, for another meeting. And it's not a negative thing, it's a positive as to how we all can, you know, be better and help our employees to be the best that they can be. I don't like surprises when it comes to dealing with employees. And I think unless you put it out there and say, okay, expectations, or discuss it, then in the end, in 6 more months, all of a sudden there's a surprise, well, we didn't like this, or this could have been done better. We need to work collaboratively and to help our employees however we can help them to be successful.
Any other comments regarding this? Or concerns, or Ms. Patrica?
We don't publicly discuss our interim evaluations ever since I've been on the board. That's not something that we've done. I meet individually with the superintendent and the board attorney, should that become necessary. I mean, I know that I've always sat with the superintendent and I've always sat with the board attorney at the annual evaluation before the public meeting, so that we can have that conversation. And somebody said, nothing's a surprise. There is nothing stopping any one of us from making an appointment to go through that evaluation individually with each of our employees. And I would recommend that we do that before scheduling something else publicly and taking up more board time if the issues are not appropriately addressed in those one-on-ones.
Any other comments?
Well, and I'm only basing it on my, do we not normally see everybody else's, what their interim evaluations are on our employees?
Not with the, no, it's individual. We do individual meetings with them.
Okay. All right.
That's how we've always done it. Well, since I've been here.
I don't know about that.
So unless there was
But we almost didn't even do the evaluations, like Ms. Gittens said. We didn't even, I mean, she had to remind everybody, so I remind staff, so my concern.
Yeah, it is on their radar, so they know when all the evaluations are coming up, and it's on their calendars, and that's when they sent that out to us. And then turn it into, to our Mr. Bruno.
Okay.
So, Ms. Gittens, did you have something else to?
Well, yes, in my recollection, we weren't reminded. I brought it up on the dais, but, so basically then you're saying that we individually work on performance goals or plans individually. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is when we have done the interim evaluations, we have just always had the opportunity that they have it, she's received everything, and then at that time, you all can set up a meeting with her to go over what you feel that needs to take place, or how she needs to improve, or what you can do to help. And at that time, she would be more than happy to share that. It's not ever been out here in the public.
Well, and I wasn't really asking that. I think at our reorg meeting or something, to have some time to talk about that, but.
Okay.
And my only thought is the goals, but I mean, I guess if there's 7 of us, we could all have different visions, and we were supposed to be a board of 1, so it just really kind of contradicts what we do. So, because everybody else we're 7 people that have different 7 opinions, and obviously it doesn't work well with us. So I just been trying to be on the same page as others, and maybe I'm the one off. So that's really part of it for me.
I appreciate what you're saying, but she does have a job description of what her role is, and that's what she needs to be focusing on.
That's true.
So if there's any concerns, then that definitely would be something that each one of us would have the opportunity to set up time and speak to her.
Yep, all right, thank you.
Okay, did
I'm
you have
good, thank you.
anything else?
No, that was it.
Thank you.
Concern.
Ms. Vaughn, please.
Thank you. The kids are back here in the boardroom, and that's been wonderful to come out here at 5:45 and hear the lovely voices, to have Christian here sitting with us and speaking in such a mature and thoughtful, intelligent way. And I think you really honed in on some topics that are really, really important to all of us, and that we can't forget. I know there were 4 of us. Ms. Fisher already mentioned how lovely it was last week, the Red Ribbon Awards ceremony, and it was quite amazing to hear the GPAs of, how many of us had, maybe some of you did, GPAs of like 4.79 or, they were truly, truly amazing. We've already touched on some of the things about the bus drivers, and I'm happy that somebody did record that it wasn't an official recording, but I did get to see parts of it from that recording that was online. But very pleased that the superintendent and his team took kind of combined all of the comments, and that's been very, very helpful to us as board members. I feel that we have seen the most pressing issues with the bus drivers. The bus drivers, and it's been said many times, this is not something unique, but they're the first adults that our kids see in the morning for those who take the bus, and they are so important, and they have our precious cargo. And frankly, it's very disturbing for me to hear a report that it was the perception of the supervisors and people turning their backs on the bus drivers for speaking out. So I'm glad that our superintendent has already brought that up, and I know that will be dealt with and followed up. And I know for every employee, it's about respect from your superiors, your supervisors in the schools, the principals. It's really about respect, because I know from my own experience as a teacher and my discussions with friends of mine who are still teaching that, again, teachers know they're not going to be making huge salaries, but teachers, let me back that up a little. Not huge salaries, but certainly better than, and I'm going to talk in a minute about that, better than what they're receiving right now, especially under the circumstances of COVID. But lots of times people will stay with a job that's not perfect as long as they're getting a fair working wage of that goes along with their expertise. And you know, I've heard of people that have changed jobs because they're going to make a whole lot more money and then they're miserable. But what's happened now, unfortunately, to our teachers is they're miserable and they're not making a lot of money, and that hurts, really hurts my heart to see this. And I want to, I've been thinking about how exactly to say this, but without being too political. But the whole thing started, or not started, but part of the issue is that coming from Tallahassee, Governor DeSantis brought forward, was it a year and a half ago or whenever it was, about the $47,000 salary for beginning teachers. And I said at the time, and it was a rather unpopular statement. There were people right on this board saying to me, well, you should be happy that he's proposing a salary increase for anybody. But lo and behold, what has happened is the foundation of our schools, our teachers, our veteran teachers, they've been leaving in droves. There are teachers that, I mean, I have a really good friend that she was a career changer, but she'd been teaching for 14 years and was receiving a lot of disrespect, and looking at her own salary and the role that she was playing in mentoring, as I call them, the newbies, and you know, teachers saying, oh, it's my first year to teach this. Do you have lesson plans for this? Do you have, and handing over, you know, that's, people, some people, if you haven't taught, you don't realize the number of hours and hours and hours and classes to put together lesson plans and to put together those special little tweaks. So it is a big deal. It is a big deal for those veteran teachers to take the time and mentor the newbies and hand over their lesson plans and their special materials. And so when we think about these things, we also need to think about what's coming from Tallahassee and what is really putting up stumbling blocks, including members of our own local delegation who appeared on a segment on CNN, and I was a part of that same segment, who said, I wouldn't send my children to any of those government schools, and said flat out to the reporter that he was in favor of dismantling those. So when you think about these things, think about what's happening in Tallahassee as well. One other important thing is, this is my third board meeting in a row to do this, but I always like to be informative. One of the speakers was upset because she had asked for classroom libraries, a list of classroom libraries. I'm going to assume that most of the classroom libraries are like my library was that I built up over 38 years with, I don't even know, I gave away so many books, and I probably had at least 100, probably more like 150 books. They were my books. They were my books, personal books that I brought in. Some of them were from college days. Some of them were books I bought with my own money, or a lot of teachers will also go to the Foundation for Lee County Public Schools, which has, when our public libraries purge their collections, many of the teachers go there and can get books for their classroom libraries. So I don't want you to have, and some of them may be school books, but many times these classroom libraries are teachers' personal copies that they have spent their own money to build these libraries. And so this is not an easy task to say, well, you just need to send this to me. That's not an easy task. The other thing is, again, the reminder for those of you who are concerned that we are indoctrinating the children with book selections that appear in our school libraries. If you have a book that you feel is inappropriate, I'm not saying you can't come to the school board, and I don't shock easily, so really if you want to read something out loud to us, like from one of the books that appeared on the list, a picture book that had this horrendous page talking about different families, and one page in that multicolored, beautiful picture book said, and some families have 2 mothers or 2 fathers. Shocking. Maybe that's something that goes against your own family values, and I suggest that since these are library books, I suggest that if your own personal child, rather than somebody that you're imagining from the community, if your own child comes home with a book that you feel is inappropriate, that you counsel your child, and that if you feel it's really inappropriate, you go to our district website. We have that wonderful new area on the website that has to do with the Parents' Bill of Rights. It says Parents' Bill of Rights. You click on it, and you will find the process documents that we use as a district, okay, because we're not, as a board, because a book is held up, we don't have the jurisdiction to do this. It's a process document and a form to fill out. We do value your children's innocence, but like William Blake wrote of songs of innocence and experience, at some point the children need to be educated for the world as well. And when I say that, I'm not indicating anything that is obscene or pornography or the things that so many of you feel that we are teaching in our schools. We are educating our children for the global economy, and that includes a lot of information. And I actually feel that sometimes if you really examine what is happening, you're really going to find that it's not anything shocking. It's something that is valuable to our children as they go out into the world. End of speech.
Was that it, Ms. Vaughn?
End of speech.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn.
You want me to go on?
No, I'm good. Thank you, though. Ms. Gittens.
Okay, I have a couple of shout outs and then I have some broccoli and spinach we have to eat. First shout outs are to the chorus, and I love the lighthouse song, and they were looking at my lighthouse as they passed. They said, yeah, we saw the lighthouse. So that was my song. Christian, our future in this world is bright because you're in it, and thank you. Nations Association, Reverend Suarez, I know he's left, but I just want to thank him for 43 years of service to this community. Ms. McMiller, redistricting plan was excellent, and I hope we carry with us the change that we need. If each of us does that, our world will be a better place. A shout out to the teachers and the bus drivers, and especially to Ms. Marcia Ellis. You are an example of the statement, it takes a village, and you are definitely an excellent part of our village to help everyone to succeed. Also, a shout out to New Life Church in Lehigh for having, I think, one of the best Halloween, well, it was their family fall festival, and I think every child in Lehigh must have been there, but they were the cutest outfits and all that, so thank them for serving our children in the community and giving the families and the children a safe and happy place to be. Okay, I mentioned about, this is, November is Florida Family Engagement Month. So I thought of an exercise for everybody. If it's Family Engagement Month, if you have a child in the school system, or even if you don't, let's say you live down the street from a school, make it a point to just drop a card off and say thank you to all the staff and the teachers for all they do. And basically saying, thank you for letting us be a part of your family. The more we think family and community and helping each other, the better it's going to be for all of us, and especially our children. Now, I mentioned that sometimes we have to eat broccoli and spinach, and so I need to bring this up. It is not angry, it is not being nasty, but it is something that I need to say. And Sunshine Law is truly a detriment to especially a school board and to the work that we do. But it's a cross that we have to bear. And if there were any other way or time to bring up a topic, we can't do it because of Sunshine Law, so I have no choice but to bring this up now. We voted by majority at our last meeting to respectfully ask the governor's assistance in sanctioning Board Member Patrica for accusations of abusive position. We have a list of items that I will not revisit tonight, so as not to rip off the Band-Aid again. We need to heal. Fact, the board voted. Fact, I requested in the vote, the consensus, to work with the attorney on preparing that letter, since it was my motion. And subsequently, we have received, I sent an email because I thought it's not fair to have our attorney who works directly with us to write that letter. So my suggestion was that we would use Mr. John Quick, who has been sitting at our table, who knows us, who has had an integral part in this district. And if he could, like I said, work with me to draft the letter. I do not intend to be nasty, I just intend to be factual. And, but I don't think that we need to put Attorney Bruno in that position. If the board chooses to either not follow what we voted on or to water it down. I will be doing my own letter that will go to the governor's office to be added to the case that I already have. Again, this is not to be nasty. It is not to be mean. It is a process that we voted on, and we have to follow through on it. So I don't know if there's discussion or whatever about that. And then I have one more thing, so I don't know if you want to address that or not.
Is there anyone that would like discussion? I believe that we asked Mr. Bruno to write something, and we left it in her hand. So is there
Yes,
anyone else that would need to?
But there were issues with that because it puts her in a precarious position to, and if you read the emails that we received, it's not fair to have her be potentially put in a difficult position in her job. So, like I said, if, and she has said to us in an email today that she didn't feel comfortable doing that. So I leave it up to the rest of you, whatever you want to do. I will be doing a letter on my own if no one else feels the need to do so. So you have one comment.
Giovanelli?
My only concern is that the letter needs to be based on the motion, and the paragraph that was written had nothing, there was no verbiage from our motion, from the motion that was passed. So I think we have to be very careful because we need to be, the letter needs to match the motion. So.
And if I...
Mr. Bruno, can you respond to that, please?
So the
I'm
letter.
not putting you in this situation, but would you please respond?
So the letter that was drafted takes the language directly from the minutes that recorded the motion.
That's what I thought. Thank you for stating that.
Okay, so am I then to believe that the board is just agreeing to send the letter that we received initially?
I'm saying we asked her to do something. It was done based on the motion, and to me, that's what we asked her to do. That's my personal, Ms. Vaughn?
Yeah, I did send an email to our board attorney and registered my my disapproval of the letter in terms of not really, I'm trying to think of a good way to put this, of not really capturing the essence of what we said. I really feel like it didn't capture the essence, and I agree with Mrs. Giovanelli because I pulled up that motion again, and it was partly there and partly not there. That said, I understand the issue for our board attorney who sent us the email explaining that she does not feel comfortable or that it's appropriate for her as our employee to write anything scathing, let's say, about one of her clients, I believe was what she said. So it really brings up to me a conundrum because we do have the sunshine laws and, for better or worse, and if we didn't have the sunshine laws, then all of the people that are here would not be getting public records, or we wouldn't be getting public records, and so there is a reason for it, but on the other hand, it's a problem, and I find that it is a problem when just one board member gets with, let's say, the attorney to write something, and yet, here's the conundrum, how are we going to, 7 of us, write something? So it just really, the whole thing's been very frustrating to me, because I really feel like the letter didn't reflect what I wanted to see when I did my vote to say yes, to write the letter. But I'm stuck for a solution to it, quite frankly.
And I don't know which email you're referring to, so I did not see that, so I
But yeah,
apologize.
she just sent it today, yesterday.
As long as I'm in a meeting, I am not on my email, so I will never see those.
And may I just say, it's not having one board member write something for everyone, it's having the board member write something with the assistance of another attorney that is not as integrally involved, and it as a draft. I did not say anything about me writing and sending something to Governor on behalf of the rest of you without you all seeing it. That's not what I said. But anyway, for the sake of time, I guess you all have to decide what you're going to do. I have one more thing to.
I have Ms., did you want to say something, Ms. Morgan?
Yeah, well,
And then Ms. Fisher?
Yeah, what I wanted to say was, I thought the board attorney did what was asked, which a motion was put forward to make a statement in a letter, and that's what she wrote. I think if somebody wants something more detailed, then they have to bring something detailed to the board for review and approval. But all that was approved, by my understanding, was the motion, which is what Attorney Dupuy-Bruno captured in the letter. I'm not sure I don't understand the conversation.
And Ms. Fisher, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I thought we had that vote. I thought that the matter was closed, that the letter was on its way. I do have a question for Attorney Dupuy-Bruno, Madam Chair, if I may. So were all of our names signed on that letter?
It hasn't gone.
You received the draft of the letter, and the letter has not been sent out.
For the sake of time, Madam Chair, we can move on. I will just, the rest of the board can decide what they're going to do, and like I said, I will.
I just want to say, it wasn't sent out because I kept getting emails from board members with various concerns.
Ms. Fisher, you want to finish your?
Yeah, and I just want to go on record and say I do not want my name on that letter.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said I want to go on record saying that I do not want my name signed on that letter.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Ms. Morgan?
That's an option. I don't either.
Thank you. And Ms. Vaughn?
My question is a legal one. How can that be if the board voted a certain way? Is that an option? Isn't that part of policy? That once, even if it's something you don't agree with, that you at least will, you don't have to talk it up and put a billboard out there, but that you should go with what the board voted on. Is that not?
There is no direction as to whose signature would be on the letter. So the board instructed me to draft a letter that reflected the motion, which is what I did, and honestly, the letter was on my letterhead. Didn't have any board members on it.
Okay, yeah, I'd forgotten that it was on your letterhead, but just for future reference, if there's something like this, that that there's a letter and, it's a vote for a particular letter, If it came from the board directly, wouldn't it have everybody's name on it?
It depends on the letter and the instruction from the board. It could be sent from the chair, it could be sent, it just depends on what the board's wishes are.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, may I move along then?
Yes, Ms. Gittens,
Okay,
please.
since there's no appetite to discuss this. So I'm gathering that the letter that Attorney DePruno wrote will be sent, and perhaps you can just ask if everyone who wants their signature on it. But for sake of time, I think we need to move on. I am doing what I call my goodwill tour with staff. And what I've been doing is contacting different staff members in different departments, visiting with them and talking with them, because I believe in the last 3 years there has been a misconception, for one, of who I am and what I think and what I believe. And so this week, the lucky one was Rita Davis, the Director of Adult and Career Education. And when I talked to the different staff members, and then I asked them to give me something that you're really proud of so I can give you a shout out when we're on the board, on the dais. So Rita Davis's staff, this is getting in my way. So Rita Davis's staff from Adult and Career Education, and they invited me to their gratitude party. I couldn't go because I had a conflict, but I think it's something that's really great to do. They have a list of notes, and people put notes in the basket of something that they're grateful for another employee, and then they have a party and they read them out and give the notes to everybody. And I have a picture of it, I can share it with you later. I think it's just one of the good things that is coming out of departments, and their notes of gratitude is something that I think we all could look at. The other thing that they are very proud of is a program called Transio, am I saying it correct? Transio. And I'll explain really quickly what it is, but she also wanted me to say that 2 members that worked hard to help build this program, Melissa Johnson and Suzette Rivera. Melissa Johnson worked with the team in CTE, and I think she moved on to HR, but she wanted to give them a shout out. So what the program is, let me tell you really quickly. So Transio is an online management tool used to track work-based learning experiences. Basically, it's like a mentoring program, and the community can get involved in it in various ways. And for example, you can do a classroom presentation through career academies. You can do a one-time job shadowing or mentoring program. As long as I see Dr. Spiral's head going like this, I'm okay. All right. And then there's a long-term mentoring program. There's an internship requiring 150 hours of work experience and leading, hopefully, to employment. So I think this is a fabulous, fabulous program. You can go online, I'm sure it's on our website, and it's Transio, Transeo, and it will give you all the details. If you're a business, even have a small business, and you need some help, then you can possibly hook up and get a student to do a mentor program, and then we're all there. We go with the village again. You're helping students to get gainful employment and learn a skill that they can take throughout their lives. So it is a wonderful program. I thank you to Rita Davis and her team. And if I were there, I'd put a gratitude note in your box to thank you all for the hard work that you do. And that's my comments.
Thank you, Ms. Gittens. Ms. Patrica.
Thank you. Christian, what is your last name, please?
Whittish.
Whittish. So future Governor Whittish. You're phenomenal. See those kids out there? 4 kids wave. Those are my 4 children, and I have 3 aunts and a mother out there. And while I always like to be incredibly supportive of children and their future goals, I will tell you that politics is incredibly difficult business. It's mostly difficult on the families that surround us. So I encourage you to follow your dreams, because right now your 2 platform items, which are prevention of sexual assault, sexual harassment, and improvement of mental health services for all people, those are winning platform items. I encourage you to not lose your spirit, your integrity, or your ethics as you work your way through the process. Make sure you have people who surround you who will sort of punch you in the face if you go down the wrong road. Does that make sense? I don't mean literally punch you in the face. I mean, just really keep you in line. You give me hope for our future. So thank you very much for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. If I may, through the chair, ask the superintendent to follow up with us on one of the issues that Christian raised, which is, could we have some data regarding sexual harassment and sexual assault complaints in our schools? I don't feel as much of a need to follow up on the mental health issues because, number one, I don't understand them, and number two, Board Member Fisher is truly an expert in that area. But I would like to understand what the legal limitations are for schools in the district with regard to a student who is found to have offended with regard to sexual harassment or sexual assault. What are the limitations for us? I know that we can expel under some circumstances. We can't expel under other circumstances. That might be a question for the board attorney. And the final thing is, I'd like to ask the chair to please put this item in our parking lot so that we as a board can have a deeper discussion to address your concerns, okay? Are we good? Okay. All right, so I wrote down here students exclamation point because it's just so wonderful to have you back in our boardroom, and it really helps center me and focus me on, why we're here and why we do what we do. I do have a couple of acknowledgments. FHSAA, Thomas Kenna from Cape Coral High School was appointed. He is their athletic director. He was appointed to the Florida High School Athletic Association Board of Directors yesterday. That's why I had to leave our meeting, was to go to that special meeting to have him appointed. That's a real feather in the cap of Lee County. I mean, it's great representation. He will be at all of our board meetings until June, and I think Dave LaRosa, Mr. LaRosa also goes to all of those meetings. So there really should be nothing occurring athletically in the state of Florida that we're not well versed on at this point. Another acknowledgement, Gary Freeze is a deceased wrestling coach who started at Fort Myers High School, I want to say in 1982. Does that even sound right? Is that even possible?
Sure.
Somewhere around there. Incredibly impactful coach, not just in terms of his wins and his admission to the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, but in terms of his positive impact on kids and keeping them from dropping out and all of that. He was recognized yesterday by the city of Fort Myers. November 4th will officially, from this point forward, be considered or proclaimed to be Gary Freeze Day in the city of Fort Myers. So that's a huge feather in his cap, and it's a little bit of a personal thing for me because his daughter is my daughter's swim coach, so there's that connection there as well. Plus, you guys know how much I love wrestling. Lynn Takis is leaving, which was a shock to me. When I read that email, I was completely and totally stunned. When I go to schools, I tell the principal, whoever is giving me the tour, I'm not here to judge, I'm here to help, I'm here to support. Please tell me what you need from the district. And then I come back and I report to the superintendent, the good, the bad, the everything. And overwhelmingly, Lynn's name comes up all the time when I'm talking to principals about how amazing and wonderful she is, how hard she works, how accurate she is in the information that she gives. You walk through that office and she sits there quietly and she's got her head down and she's always doing her work, and the praise that she got from our schools was just beyond, and I'm really sad to see her go because I think she was fantastic. The NAACP presentation today reflected a little bit of an inaccuracy that I would like to correct, which is that we only represent the people, students, and schools in our individual districts. I think a lot of people believe that to be the case when state statute actually requires us to represent every single student, every single voter, every single taxpayer at every single school in the entire district. So there really isn't that much of a difference in terms of the districts and why they're made up the way they are. And I think there was some kind of an indication there that we could draw lines based on the needs of our students. And what I'm getting through the chair, Dr. Savage, what I'm understanding from the proximity plan is that we hope to use policy in conjunction with the proximity plan to address student needs, whether it be ESE or students who come from circumstances of economic disadvantage or ELLs or any of that. So I'm not sure that the redistricting, the drawing of maps is going to address many of the issues that were legitimately brought up today. Couple more things. I was on the calendar committee, and I hear you about Halloween and the day after Halloween. Please don't tell my children that people miss school the day after the Super Bowl, because they will give me a hard time, and they are not allowed to miss school ever. But the day after Halloween is just so low on the priority of things to be addressed by that calendar committee, because they're looking at, they're looking at a lot of other, like, really legal holidays and making sure the whole week of Thanksgiving is off and things like that. So I just want you to know that there was a high level of expertise in there. Unfortunately, I have two more relatively lengthy things that I have to go through. I'm sorry, I know it's late. The FSBA resolution, I told you all that I would read it to you, and then we can go, if this is appropriate, go through the group, and each person can say whether they approve of it or they support it, and if you don't, you can just stay silent. But I know that people want to get on record about this. And I did send you all a copy of it so that you could read along. Florida School Boards Association resolution, ensuring that views are heard and exchanged in a safe environment. Whereas the Florida School Boards Association is a nonpartisan board which represents 346 school board members, and whereas public education is essential to an informed citizenry, the foundation of our democratic society, and whereas public schools are the cornerstone of each community, bringing together adults and children, educators, volunteers, business leaders, community groups, and elected officials in a common enterprise, and whereas a commitment to First Amendment rights of all citizens is guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution, that should say United States Constitution, and integral to the spirit of Florida's open meeting laws, and whereas Florida school boards both encourage and welcome parents as well as other concerned citizens to engage in lively, respectful, and civil civic discourse at school board meetings, and whereas the FSBA affirms that the safety of all school board members and citizens who attend school board members is of the utmost importance, and whereas the FSBA is concerned about alarming incidents and comments if they extend beyond civil civic discourse, and whereas illegal acts cannot be tolerated, and whereas the Florida School Board members maintain full confidence in and appreciate our partnership with local and state law enforcement agencies to effectively address issues of public safety if they arise. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Florida School Boards Association calls upon all school districts to collaborate with their respective local law enforcement agencies to continue to provide a safe environment for all stakeholders to exchange views, thereby ensuring parents' voices are heard when it comes to decisions about their children's education and safety. I will start and say I fully support this statement, and then we can go.
Ms. Fisher?
I support it. Yes.
I support it.
Giovanelli? Ms. Gittens?
I'm fine with it.
I'm sorry?
I'm fine with it.
Oh, thank you. Ms.
I
Vaughn?
support it.
And Ms. Morgan?
I support it.
Wow, that was quick and easy. Let me give you a bit of an update as well. I mean, you're seeing in the news that state associations are pulling out of NSBA at here and there, one off here and there. Know that your Florida School Boards Association is in discussions about this. Discussions about this have been going on for more than a decade. So understand that this is not just the NSBA letter. This is governance issues with NSBA. We are addressing them on a regular basis. Your executive committee speaks about this at least once a week. And we will not pull out of NSBA unless and until we go through the appropriate governance processes for FSBA. So if you're alarmed by the fact that there's been a lack of action, it's only because your board of directors doesn't meet again until December. So I wanted to give you that update. If you have any questions, please let me know. And finally, the rest of my comments tonight are directed toward the public, but really made for the benefit of my children who are here tonight to support me. It's sort of my time to support them. So over the past few years, I have not responded to the numerous attacks on my character from some members of the public. I chose instead to try to keep the focus on children and improving Lee County schools. Even now, it really feels distasteful to me to explain the context of the circumstances under which I've been working, but I think it's time that I did address that context. I would first like to thank the hundreds and hundreds of people, both in Lee County and across the state, who have reached out to me to offer words of encouragement and support over the years. Unfortunately, many of the people who have reached out to me in recent weeks also expressed anger and confusion because of what they are seeing on social media and at school board meetings. Almost everyone with whom I have spoken urged me to share at least some of the context of my experience. In November of 2020, I won re-election to this board by a healthy margin. It was not close. During that time and since, my opponent has engaged in a vicious and relentless campaign to smear my name, my reputation, and the body of work I have engaged in as a member of this board. Before she ran for a seat on the board before she ran for a seat on the board, she sued the school district of Lee County. The judge ordered a mistrial and granted the district's motion for a directed verdict, both of which are very, very rare. My opponent and her group of about 5 supporters have filed countless complaints against me and the school district with the Florida Department of Education, the Auditor General, the Florida Commission on Ethics, various agencies of the federal government, and with the school board. We hired an outside investigator to fully vet those claims. My opponent refused to cooperate with the investigator. With the exception of one claim that the district did settle because the federal government was holding a $10 million grant until the claim was resolved, every single complaint, local, state, and federal, has been returned with findings of no merit. Every single one. My opponent's escalating obsession with me is also evidenced by the email campaign in which she engages a very small group of about 5 equally preoccupied supporters, most of whom participate in public comment during school board meetings. Between my opponent and her supporters, she has sent or been copied on more than 170 emails since I started saving them in February of 2019. Some of those emails are as long as 213 pages. This data does not account for the hundreds and hundreds of baseless and angry emails that she sends to my colleagues across the county and across the state, upon which I am not copied. I've managed this never-ending savage campaign by remaining quiet. I have stayed above the fray, and I have taken the high road. The attacks were against me, and I guess that, in our political climate, this kind of behavior has become normalized. And frankly, I can take it because so much of it is really just sophomoric. But I'm now compelled to speak out because my opponent has attacked my kids. When you go after my kids, Mama Bear comes out, and I will do everything in my power to protect them. I will protect them with every fiber of my being. My opponent has a fake photoshopped picture of me behind bars in prison stripes on her social media page. My children have received screenshots from their friends and been ridiculed as a result of this out-of-bounds behavior. Most recently, pictures of my children engaging in their activities at their schools have been featured in my opponent's offensive and bizarre videos. I would hope that the public would agree when I say that my children are off limits. They have done nothing to warrant public attacks by a person who simply cannot accept defeat. I'd like everyone to reflect upon what is in the heart of a person who would unabashedly attack children. Please think about that as you come across the content of the materials my opponent places in the public forum. I invite my opponent and her clique to mature the level of dialogue. I work hard to project a positive, professional image of the school board and the school district. Our students, our staff, and our community deserve nothing less. Accept defeat and stop dragging the level of dialogue down to your level. We have real problems, and we need thoughtful people to solve them. I was elected to this position, and I will not resign. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Was that the end of? Thank you. So the only comments, a lot of my colleagues have already spoke about the different activities and places that we have been this week, and just the mere fact of the children at the different Red Ribbon event was amazing. Seeing these kids in here again and just bringing life back into this boardroom, which we intend on doing every week to make us, continue to remember why we are here, and that is the reason why we are here. Kristen had to leave. It was beyond his curfew, so that's why he politely got up and left. But just seeing like these kids here and knowing that, they're going to return and they hear what we're doing. They hear what's coming across, in both ways. So I think that, I think it's going to be good for all of us to have them here with us, and I look forward to that taking place as well. Next, I'm going to have Mr. Bruno. Do you have any comments?
Yes, ma'am. I would like a formal action vote with regards to the letter, so I'm clear as to the board's direction.
Okay.
Point of order, may I? I'm not allowed to vote, right?
No.
Okay. And will you prepare the paperwork for me, please?
Yes.
Thank you. And I will publicly state that I have a conflict of interest because I am the subject of the letter. I think I have to do that orally as well, correct?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and well, I can't make the motion, so who's going to make a motion? What do you want a motion on when we already had a motion?
Well,
for
a draft letter was sent to the board for your consideration, and I received, several comments back from board members with regards to the letter. That is the extent of my comfort in drafting this letter pursuant to the Florida ethics rules and conflict of interest. If this is the letter that the board would like to send, I would like a formal action so that we can move that forward. Okay. An action vote.
So can I get a motion to accept the draft letter that Mr. Bruno has created to be sent out? Ms. Vaughn?
Just one quick question. Does it exist now in the exact form that you sent it out to us?
Does it? I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Oh,
You're speaking up.
Been an email today?
No. It was. Ask her again, repeat what, she did not understand your question.
I didn't understand.
Oh, well, I've read the letter from a prior email. What I'm asking is, you said you had gotten comments, and what I'm asking is, have you acted on any of the comments, or does it exist the way we received it?
I have not changed the letter from what was sent to the board.
All right, I'm going to make a motion that the board send the letter as drafted by our board attorney.
May I have a second on that, please? Well, if I don't have a second, we cannot have a vote.
Then
it's
motion dies.
Thank you.
So just to be clear, I will not be sending the letter.
Correct. Okay, is that the end of your comments, Mr. Bruno?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Savage?
Yes, Madam Chair. I did, courtesy of Dr. Spiro, he did give us the answer to your question about absenteeism the day after Halloween. It was 14,252 students, which is a sizable number.
Yeah.
So we'll be sure to pass that along to the calendar committee so they will take that under advisement. So thank you for that, and thank you, Dr. Spiro, for that quick work. 14,252 students on that absentee day after Halloween.
And through the chair, I'm sorry, real quick. One of the parents, one of them that I spoke to, mentioned there was a holiday around that. I don't know, and I wasn't thinking, but you know, I don't know if there's a teacher duty day or something that can be, I don't know, that can be worked in there. But I'm throwing that in there as well because I just had no idea.
Happened to fall within just where Halloween fell at that time. So, so as it stands, I will certainly pass that along. Just really, I know that he had to leave as well. Very grateful for Christian and really grateful for all the students, all the young people that were here today in the boardroom. I couldn't agree more with many of the board members who shared the comments that keeping us centered on students truly is our work. And sometimes in our jobs they can feel very far from students, so it's so important that they remain at the forefront of our thinking and all of our work. That's how they also wanted to acknowledge all of our staff. It was, you know, we had a number of folks, bus drivers in particular. Bus drivers, many of them get up at 2:30, 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning to begin their work. It's a very difficult job. The hours that they work make it very difficult to hold down second jobs as well. So I just want to make sure I publicly state, as I've said many times, to the board, to the bus drivers, just the sympathy that we have for these folks who are true servants, as well as all of our staff people out in schools, teachers, support staff. People have been through a lot. But I also want to acknowledge, it was brought up as supervisors, leaders as well. We are one team. And so it's so important that we acknowledge that everyone has been through a difficult time right now. And while there may have been some supervisors who took the words personally, my hope is that it wasn't that many. I hope that many really truly took it as it was meant, an opportunity for us to constantly improve. And so I want to make sure that what I do is not vilify any particular group. It's so important that we acknowledge that our leaders have very difficult jobs, very thankless jobs as well. And it's only through the work of all of us respecting our respective roles and how we are there to support each other through and through, and ultimately how we all work to support our children, that is the success of this district. So from every single board member sitting here, from our board attorney, down to every single support staff person, every child in our school, every person who volunteers, I'm grateful for all of their sacrifices through this tremendously difficult time, and let's work together to make our district the best it can be. So thank you. Those are my comments for this evening.
Thank you very, very much. The next scheduled meetings of the board: on Wednesday, November 3rd, there will be a board briefing at 1 p.m. On Thursday, November 11th, there will be a board workshop at 9 a.m. On Monday, November 15th, there will be a workshop. On Tuesday, November 16th, there will be a board briefing at 1 p.m. followed by an action meeting at 6. At this point, having no further business to come before this body and seeing no objection, this meeting is adjourned. Everyone, please have a safe evening, and thank you.